Every time. Welcome back to the Dynasty Grind. My name's Peter Howard at PA Howdy on Twitter. We live stream for about 3 hours every night on Wednesday from 9:30 till close, where we answer, talk, or pontificate on fantasy football and Dynasty in general. So if you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, please drop them in whatever comment box on whatever streaming platform you're actually watching this on. And we will do our best to not bore you with our thoughts or pontifications on it. I don't know. I'm out of quippy hype season type titles. But this week I've been thinking a lot about the difference between trends and streaks and where to draw the line. And ultimately I've come to the conclusion of, I don't know, but I definitely think way too many people do think they know, considering it doesn't seem to have a very clear and simple answer. And so that's where the title comes from this week. When are we looking at a trend? When are we looking at a streak? My name, again, Peter Howard at PA Howdy on Twitter. I'm here tonight with Zach Reed from the Dynasty Dummies podcast. Russ Fisher is not going to be able to make it this week because he has a sick family member, which is unfortunate, but we do wish that they get well relatively soon, or at least enjoy spending time together, I guess. I don't know. I'm out of words. Welcome to the Dynasty Grind. Hey, Zach, how you doing?
Not bad. It's going to be a short show if you have no words, Peter.
We'll
just run it over. We'll look over it. No,
it's officially. I thought I had another good 3 hours in me, and then I was like, "Oh no, I've forgotten." Like those are all the words. I hit my limit, so that's cool. But it's been really bugging me the difference between. And I've actually started Googling, but the only things I found, like in a week, are, hey, do you want to learn basic stock market strategy for day trading? And one, no, I don't. And two, I'm not going to learn a whole branch of mathematics to understand this concept. So I'm pretty sure every time everyone uses the word trend, we should just slap them in the face. I'm pretty sure they don't know what it means, because apparently it's pretty complicated.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts.
I was told there'd be no math. So
I did, I was promised a certain level of you just have to play fantasy football, and it's not true. But we do have some comments already in the chat, so let's see if they can get us out of it. Dynasty Outhouse Truther 12. I've never seen Dynasty Outhouse Truther and Dynasty Outhouse in the same room, so I'm just saying, well, sus.
That had been said about Russ and me, where every time I go on his show.
Mm-hmm.
The Trade Addict show, he's not there. Like, I fill in for him, so there was some concern that we might have been the same person. I
personally believe he and Jeff Bell are the same person. Just saying. Something that would be really easy to disprove, and they have not gone to the effort. So 12-team Superflex, start 11, tight end premium, so Trade Addicts League. Got it. Jamar Chase, Armon Ra, and Kyle Pitts. That's his team. Well, not that it matters. My immediate thought is just Jamar Chase.
Yeah, especially without the premium.
Chase, just have Jamar Chase. Yeah. What's the difference to you between George Kittle and Travis Kelce? Someone asked me the other day if the 110 to move from Kittle to Kelce was a good trade. And I was like, kind of, but I'd probably just stick with Kittle at this point. Like, you got a couple extra years.
Yeah.
Difference is valid, but the 110, you could get someone who could make that up for you.
It depends on... Oh, I mean, you kind of said it. It depends on how competitive you are in the near term. I think Kittle gives you the years and a similar level of competitiveness, but Kelce has just that extra for the next, let's say, 3 years. So it really kind of depends on, if I'm looking to compete next year, I'd rather have Kelce, and I don't mind giving up the 110 to go get him.
See, Kittle's a competitive asset too. Like, you're not trade for Kittle unless you think you're going to need those. But it's kind of trade you in season. It's a lot easier to answer. I guess. But
and that's true. But to me, it's kind of the, do you want to move up to a Mahomes, Josh Allen from a Lawrence? Do you know what I mean? It's like they're in the same kind of area, but there's still a difference between Kelce and Kittle. As much as I love Kittle,
that's true. That's true. No, I feel it's like 17 to 23, just to put random numbers on it. But yeah. And in this case, I don't. Yeah, it's just Jamar Chase. Like you take the certainty out of it. Even if Kyle Pitts is a 22-year-old Travis Kelce, I don't actually think this moves your value line much. Jamar Chase is just a different class of value. And while Pitts might join that tier if he were to score touchdowns, basically, that's what's needed. Just give me Jamar Chase in Dynasty. Like, less complicated, the better. Thanks, gents. Drop a like for the show. I would, but I can't because I'm on the show.
I got you, Peter. I'll do that.
Oh. I can't open up a second window. I literally crashed it all. Equity loan. Hey, welcome back. Hey guys, from your data, rewatching of highlights and looking and looks to be the NFL consensus. Rewatching highlights and looks to be NFL consensus. JSN, but okay. By far the best wide receiver in the class. By far, I would say it's a lot closer to Addison than you might think, but sure. I would not rank Addison above JSN, but I will mention it that I think about it every single time I say that that's the truth. So I take that for what it's worth. Today in a 12-team start, 1 QB non-tight end premium, I traded away the 107 and the 107 this year, and 3rd and 5th next year. Like a 3rd round and a 5th round?
Yeah, so 105, 107, and then a 24, 3rd, and 5th.
And the 5th doesn't matter.
Neither does
the 102.
Third, really.
So no, essentially you've given up the 105 and the 107 for the 102. You already know the 101 is going to be Bijan Robinson. I think that's pretty likely in a lot of leagues. Too aggressive. So essentially, is 2 mid-first round picks too much to give up for the 102? And the answer is no.
No, especially in a one quarterback league, you're outside of Bijan, Gibbs, JSN, Addison. Those are the 4 that I'm fairly confident in right now at this point beyond the quarterbacks. Because in a Superflex league, we were talking about 7 players.
Yeah.
And
so we can game the draft all day and say, well, you could get Addison and Gibbs at the 5 and the 7. In that case, this would suck. But
yeah, but you won't.
I prefer not to play rookie drafts that way.
Yeah.
Like you've got to go get your first guy and then you worry about getting your second guy. And if you don't have enough value to get up to get Addison and Gibbs, and you just take the first, keep it simple, stupid. That's because I'm stupid. That's what I always tell myself. And I just want my first guy before I worry about getting my second guy.
Yeah, and that's it. Like it's Jackson Smith and Jigba, and no, I don't think this is an egregious overpay. I don't think it's too aggressive. I think that this is
in a 1 QB. It's pretty good.
Yeah, well, and especially since he mentioned the kind of the rumors coming out of the NFL draft is that there may only be one wide receiver.
They won't like this wide receiver class
in the first, and it's JSN, and so go do that. That's
because and the other thing, to an outhouse point, if he were here, he might point out that the pick is not the player, so you can do more with the pick. And after the draft, there might be a lot of reasons that you want to. It could be that there's no other wide receiver in the top 5, so suddenly you're hunting for Addison in the second. That would be ridiculous, but possible. Or it could be that more risk comes with the draft, so the 102 secures a lot of that risk for you. Like if JSM falls to the 7th round, you shouldn't probably take him in the 1st. I would, but you shouldn't. But Gibbs is going to be there. So you secure yourself from a lot of that risk as well, because it's a pick, not the player. So yeah, it's just generally, I always think it's a positive thing to move up. And again, in a 1 QB, the 5 and the 7, it's a different tier, which is what Zach was describing. In a 1 QB league, so it's not. It's actually a really good value. It's about what we should expect. Benjamin Siegel, does your typical approach change in a startup with 0.5 points per carry? It's been a while since I ran the numbers on points per carry, but yeah, I'm always going to reassess who's valuable at what based on a new scoring system. I don't think 0.25 moves the needle too much. I forget how influential that is. I ran it once for Scott Fishbowl that included it. It probably evens out running backs in the top 24 a little bit, who I usually dismiss as somewhat useless, but they're probably a lot more flex viable in that format. But I don't think it's going to drastically change everything. But again, I would look to see how it adjusts finishes and expectations and how viable running backs are in the flex compared to wide receivers and tight ends as well. So yeah, drafting running backs early. See, that's, I think, the hubris there. Like, in a dynasty, the point scoring isn't the only reason wide receivers get boosted above them. Right now, however, running backs are kind of boosted down, so it might just even it out, which leaves you in the exact same place. Again, it's worth game planning it out, but I wouldn't draft running backs higher because of 0.25. I would try to expect more from them, but remember why I'm drafting them. You're drafting running backs for points, essentially. They're a points play. And so I would draft them appropriately to how I'm building my team. I wouldn't specifically draft running backs more often because of it, if that makes sense. Zach, does that make sense?
It does, but so the way I build, I don't think this changes. This actually helps my build because the way I build, I'm building around wide receivers who score points. So that doesn't, your positional advantage at wide receiver doesn't go away. But if you have one of these running backs who hits and comes in and gets a bunch of carries, now all of a sudden you're getting a boost from the running backs that you're stacking up at the, in the mid-late rounds. So yes, and I like my home league is a 0.25 per carry.
Okay.
And so it's a little bit, it's nice because it boosts the guys like Chubb, it boosts the guys like Walker, it boosts the guys like Derrick Henry, who get a ton of carries, who aren't necessarily pass catchers. So it evens out a little bit of those players, but I don't think it changes. I don't think it in the grand scheme of things, it changes my approach very much.
Yeah, this actually feeds in a little bit to something I've been working on a lot. I'm always working on trying to make everything simple and easy, and it's not possible, guys. I have so many questions this week about, could we have a little bit more help about how to use all this data? I'm like, one, I've done a lot of that content. Here's the links. But two, no, there's no real way of swallowing all of it. There's no one column. It's best used for answering questions. It's that simple. But I was talking with Adam Harstead last week, and I've tried it a few different times, a few different ways. Just creating a column for Dynasty, one that equates to value and one that equates to expected value over time, and one that tries to equate who's better and worse relative to each other is a fair exercise, but you can simply go through points per game, which is what I was telling you when I said I would run it. I would look at points per game expectations. What does a wide receiver typically score if they finish in the top 12 versus the top 24? What has this wide receiver done over the last 3 years with their expectation of how long their career should last? And then that gives you a reasonable expectation of how much advantage, presuming they keep producing, and that they offer relative to running backs. But the simple known values of Dynasty are still going to work there. Running backs have about 2.5 less years in them. On average, I think that's exaggerated in ADP. And I think a scoring like this, to Zach's point, is actually going to exaggerate it further, which pushes a build at 0 wide receiver even more viable. And so you're still going to play the draft, but have reasonable expectations for why you draft certain type of players, how long you're going to get that, and what the value arcs and value windows are. And so it's the same thing. You just readjust to what your league mates are doing, much more so than the scoring, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Benjamin, the top players are still going to be the top players. So it doesn't change my strategy with the top players. But once you get into the middle tier of players, it's skewed toward breaking ties toward running back even harder. So that's,
And then the other way I think everyone plays Dynasty is just go looking for the things you think other people might not see. Like Deebo Samuel is a touch more valuable in this league. He just is. And so is Kadarius Toney, actually. So might Rondale Moore be. Players that are a little more inclined to get rushing work have a little bit of a boost, and maybe you find an edge in there. But again, it's not going to make them a top 5 scorer. It's just something you want to keep an eye out. If you're getting them at ADP, that's actually a better value, kind of a thing. It's like return yardage when it's included. You don't want to seek it out, but you don't want to pay attention to it. If someone's not valuing return yardage and you get points for that, you should look at Cordero Patterson a little bit more.
Yeah,
also,
2 points
for tight end.
2 points for tight ends. So when I'm in a tight end premium league, so all of Russ's leagues that I'm in are 1.75 for tight end. I have in every single one of his leagues at least 2 of the top 4 tight ends, and I try to get 3 because people undervalue those tight ends and overvalue quarterbacks in a super flex, and those tight ends score better than all but about the top 5 quarterbacks. So if I have 2 of those tight ends, one of them will be my second quarterback, one of them will be my tight end, and one of them will be my flex, like with a bullet flex. And all of a sudden, you basically are starting 3 quarterbacks plus a Bull of the Woods tight end in a league because of that. But there are only 4 of those guys, like, because the 2-point premium for tight ends only matters if they're catching balls. So you're looking for guys who get over 100 targets, and there aren't very many tight ends that do that.
And the 2-point, that's actually more significant than 0.25 per carry. Draft Mark Andrews. Make sure you draft Mark Andrews. That's the first thing that occurs to me. And then you've got Kittle and Kelsey. And honestly, there's a tier there. And then you've got Kyle Pitts because he might be valued like them, and he's got a little longer in his career. And then even the middle class, like you're bumping everyone up. You're not changing the order necessarily, but you bump the tight end position up much more than you do the running back, I would say. Do you guys ever play in 2 tight end leagues? Have done, will do, we'll do again. I like the tight end position because people overthink it.
I wish Russ was here.
Yeah.
He hates the 2 tight end leagues.
But again, there's no real way of making more tight ends more relevant, even the point scoring or start 2, because they're not more flex viable. And this does more to affect the value of the, like Zach was saying, of the top 5 relative to the top 5 at other positions. It doesn't make Pat Freiermuth Jamar Chase. It makes Kelsey more than Jamar Chase.
Right.
That makes sense. Sorry, Karen.
It does. Well, and the same thing. Like I don't know who does 2 tight end content, but I will say that it's the same idea. Except for those top tier tight ends are even more valuable in a 2 tight end because you're gaining twice the advantage because everybody has to start 2. So if you're starting 2 of the top 4 or 5, like let's go.
Exactly.
I think that like a 2 tight end league makes Hawkinson really valuable, makes Freiermuth like that tier of players who are really good. Yeah, no, Freiermuth too. Like that
middle class,
yeah. Well, the upper middle class.
Dallas got a TJ Hawkinson, Pat Freiermuth is in there for me.
The white collar tight ends,
I wouldn't put Njoku in there. I wouldn't put Ingram in there. That's the lower middle class. I think you just
mentioned them.
Yeah. I think that's it. That's a whole middle class. Do you go? Frank N. Don't worry, Zach. I'm back with more JSN questions. If JSN lands at his perfect landing spot, whatever that is, where is he in wide receiver rankings? Honestly, I don't mind. There's no landing spot that will probably move him out. Like I said, it's mostly draft capital, but I'm going to adjust where I have to draft JSN to draft capital. That's the undrafted free agent truther in me. If you're going to let me JSN in the second, I'm going to try and take him in the second, but I'm not going to be scared to take him as wide receiver 1 overall if I have to either.
Well, but I think he's talking about. I think Frank is talking about in the overall rankings of wide receiver, right? Like not rookie, but overall. So to me,
he's like
he's in the top 10. Like to me, he's above T. Higgins. Like if he comes in, gets first round capital, lands in the perfect spot.
I tend to lean boats over maybe a boats, and JSN is still a maybe a boat, no matter how confident I am that he's going to be good. And like I've had a lot of questions this week about good proven wide receivers for JSN, and they're adding to the good proven wide receiver. And I'm like, most dynasty leagues, I'm going to lean on the good proven young wide receiver if I get a plus to JSN, just because pessimism pays off long term. But it's not that I want to do that trade. I'm going to try and find a way of getting JSN another way. But like who is it? CD Lamb. People have asked me about CD Lamb for around that pick range, and I'm like, I'll take CD Lamb.
And I would
you
too.
have to go a tier down the top 12, like below the Waddle CD Lamb tier, and then it's even.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, it's he's in that same conversation as Garrett Wilson and Olave.
Yeah, okay.
And which I think is the tier above T. Higgins, which is why I said.
Oh, I've got like Higgins in that upper one.
See, I think he's right on that cusp. But
fair enough. But even with Olave and Wilson, I prefer GSN, but I think the person with that sophomore deserves a plus because they've already done it for a year. And JSN could have a 600-yard season, and I still like him just as much, but his value dips. And so I'm like, I want JSN.
So here's the problem. So I'm not going to make that the trades that you're talking about where you're betting on the unknown versus the known. Like, those aren't trades I'm going to make, especially in the position. But I'm also going to and have been trying to actively acquire draft spots where I can go get JSN because if you play in fear or you play, I haven't seen him do it yet, so I'm not, you're going to miss out on every single player because no rookie has ever done it in the NFL until they play in the NFL.
Yeah, you can't play Invent, and you have to play. That's why I play rookie drafts. I'm going to go get my player. I'm just saying I think there should be more value on Olave and Wilson, and if I can't get it, then I'll use something else on my roster.
Yeah.
Like if they don't, and I think the minute you start playing, like you're like, well, I won't give you Wilson, but I'll give you Pittman. They will want Wilson or Olave instead, and so they would consider a trade offer where you're getting a little bit of a better deal, or you trade Pittman.
But this is this is again. Now we're getting back into literally the formula of how I play Dynasty, where it would be for me. It would be trading players like Ken Walker or whoever even honestly even Hall, but Hall, Jonathan Taylor, Ken Walker. Those running backs, I try to get out a year early for the picks and the young wide receivers, and so that's how I tend to play. And so it wouldn't be a decision between Wilson or Olave and JSN. It would be a decision between whoever the flavor of the year running back is and JSN. And I'm going to break ties toward the receiver. I'll rookie draft my next running back when I'm ready.
It's all about where that line is, especially when we're talking about wide receiver rankings. So, and for me, like, here's my top 12: Jefferson, Chase, Waddle, Brown, CD Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Wilson, Olave, Higgins, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, DK Metcalf, and that's where the line is for me. Below there,
right where you said Higgins, is where I have JSN, just above Higgins.
That's fine. I think I'd find other trades because I definitely want JSN. So, but my risk tolerance automatically is a little lower than yours. Like I would keep those guys in a straight up deal. It's just me. Don't have as much confidence in myself. I don't want to tell you, Zach. Us ugly people. I'm a
5.5 at best, but I've made my peace with it.
Well, down here at the Force, we just do our best with our confidence.
We had someone in the Trade Addicts chat yesterday, or maybe it was one of the questions on Twitter, ask if we could come up with a new way to describe running backs being used too much rather than tread on the tire. And I was like, you gotta. It's a receding running back. They're balding. It's okay.
You go. I still not sold on the whole wearing down. Is the sound to you going weird, or is that just me and my headphones?
I think it's just you.
Cool.
You look good, though.
As long as it's just me. Frank, and also, would you trade Muth plus a 2020 at the 202 for Ayuk and 1 QB? It's about even. I probably prefer the tight end, but Ayuk, he's a value there. So, yeah, maybe. But I'm not excited about it.
Assuming we're not in a tight end premium, I think that, and I know you and I disagree on this, but I think Freiermuth is pretty replaceable, and not that Ayuk isn't. I think it's a pretty even trade. It's kind of depends on your team construction, but I don't think. I think the beauty of Ayuk is that he's a value, and if you're going and trading a top 7 tight end and a second round pick, then he might not be quite as much of a value as you're hoping to get, but I still don't mind that trade, Frank.
See, my concern here is, Frank, you're the guy I might be wanting to trade Ayuk to after Trey Lance comes back and he has a few good games. Because ultimately, I think Debo's the wide receiver 1 in points per game scoring on that team, which means I want to sell that to you when Ayuk gets that buzz. But if you're the one already trading for that, you're probably getting him now cheaper than you will later. So this is good for you. But I also want to mitigate your expectation. It's Kittle, Samuel, and then Ayuk, which is thick. That's a really good depth chart for whoever's the quarterback there. And they probably are all trading at values right now. And you're getting a good one on Ayuk. So I think this is a good trade for you. Because you should do it now, not later, because then they'll be expecting a lot more. But Ayuk got pushed in like the 4th round in Dynasty overall startup. So anything below that, you're already buying in a better price than he has been. But I just want to manage your expectations a little bit. Don't be disappointed if what you get is a top 24 wide receiver, because that's probably what you're getting. He will have his upside weeks because he's very good, and that's what top 24 wide receivers do. Yes, you should do this trade. Personally, I hate giving up Muth, so again, I would try to trade something else. But because I actually do think he has the upside where, as well, like you do with Ayuk. But value for value, this is good, and this is the right time to do it as well. To your point, yeah, his value is going to go up at some point, even if his points per game doesn't really pay off, if I'm right, and his points per game doesn't really pay off. Kosty, Talking Superflex 2-point tight end premium, start 10 best ball league. AJ Brown, the 306 for a 24 first, the 202, and a 24 second. AJ Brown.
AJ Brown. Yeah.
All day, every day for the next 3 years. I would do that. Yeah. Stickman 87. 1 of 2, apparently. 10-team Superflex, start 9, half-point PPR, 4-point PPR for tight end premium. I was offered Justin Jefferson, the 102, and the 24 second, probably late, doesn't matter, for the 101. Oh, that made it interesting. And a 24 first. And Cup. Oh, real interesting. I was going to just do my Jefferson line, but the 101 and Cup makes that a conversation. That's a really interesting trade. Good. Whichever side you're on there, Stickman, you're in your league's doing good, man. That's actually an interesting one. That's always exciting. Let's see. I think I still just lean trade for Justin Jefferson, life rule. But I'm not going to say it's a walk-off win, because Cup should be capable of equaling that points per game output, and Bijan Robinson's a different kind of player at a different position that's a lot harder to get. That's pretty good. I
might take the second side. I might take the 101 and Cup and the 24 first. Like, man, I think I would do that. I would hate that. I would hate it.
Yeah,
with every fiber of my being. Like, I am a Justin Jefferson
That's how you know
guy
it's a good
through and
trade,
through.
yeah.
So, and then the second part of that is the first were acquired, not earned. Finished 3rd last year. I'm leaning toward not taking it, but wanted your insight. I think you get more points next year from Bijan and Cup than you do from just Justin Jefferson. I really do. I think all of a sudden you have 2 top-notch starters on your team that you just add into your roster. Here,
see, the
plug
problem
and play.
with this, Stickman, is my usual default decision maker is, are you competitive or not? It's the next stage of considering a trade when you've got a pretty good trade on the books, but you're on the fence. But I don't think this trade fits that, because I think your value and your points are good either way. And so it's kind of who you prefer. And if you're leading, I just want to keep Jefferson, that's fine too.
Yeah.
I will probably keep Jefferson too. But I'm going to tell you, honestly, if I was giving advice, this is someone managing a team and it was for money, and I was going to try and give them the best upside play, it's to get Bijan Robinson. I think Cup maintains you well enough in points. You get an extra first, and you're getting a running back who I really do expect is going to be just excitement personified for the Dynasty community for like the next 9 months, through the draft, through his season. Everyone's just going to want him even more than they already do. And I know it's hard to envision that right now. And so you've probably actually got more upside there. And like Zach said, you probably get a better weekly starting lineup that way too, as difficult as that is to say. If there was money on the line, I was like giving my best advice. I'd be saying the best way is Bijan Robinson and Cup, and you get an extra first just to insulate you as well, so that's good. If it was my team, I wouldn't blame you for keeping I'd probably keep Jefferson. I'm risk averse, and I just like having Justin Jefferson. Life role.
It's not often that you can get me to agree to a trade that I hate. Like it's not like, and that's it. Like I hate trading Justin Jefferson. But I think I would do it.
Again, it's this is a nasty part about Dynasty. We get to give you both answers, and you're like, "Well, that doesn't help me." It is your team, so you do get to just enjoy your roster. Ultimately, it's meant to be fun. So just have Justin Jefferson. It's fine, but I don't think you get a better trade, especially since he's already here. So I can't say rework it. Try and keep Jefferson somehow. No, Jefferson's the reason he's interested in doing it. Yeah. Let's face it. So it's this, or that's it. If this was me trying to go all in on a high stakes league, I'd probably take Bijan Robinson. That's just is what it is. But you should really just manage your team how you want it. But that's probably my best guess. Kevin, could Aaron Jones still fall apart? Aaron Rodgers still fall apart.
The trade, yeah.
Appreciate the dedication, Peter. Well, I'm trying my best, Kevin. Thank you. Yes.
You know what I would love to see?
He could end up playing for Baltimore. Literally anything.
That's what I was going to say. I would love to see Baltimore wait till after the draft, get 2 firsts for Lamar Jackson, trade 1 first to get Aaron Rodgers, and then just have all of the Jets fans be up in New York looking at Zach Wilson again.
This is still partly why, even though the NFL is getting more active and making more trades and we should be quicker, not slower, I still lean on wake me up when something happens because, you're not wrong, Kevin. Literally anything could happen. He could be playing for Green Bay next year. That's probably the least of everyone's expectations right now, but it could easily be there, yeah. Caleb, 10-team Superflex, half-point PPR. Should I move Debo and Brian Robinson for Jacobs and Madison? As you put Debo in Dynasty, I think his value is really interesting right now. But getting Jacobs and Madison as someone else's running back handcuff is pretty decent. But it's the offseason and it's running back. Yeah, I'm leaning Debo, but I don't hate it. Jacobs he should be. By the time we get to the season, everyone will know he's a top 12 running back and everyone else has been stupid for not thinking it. So if you're just looking to get in on that and feel pretty good by the time the season rolls around, you're like, yeah, I know, I made this trade. It's a good trade. It's really solid. Dynasty, the way I play Dynasty, I would just lean Debo on the wide receiver position. But you're right. Now's a good time to get Jacobs, and this is pretty decent value for it. I keep Debo, but
man, if I am really
if you could trade
competitive,
J.K. Dobbins straight up, I'd like that.
Yeah, I am not averse to adding Jacobs. He just had a tremendous year. He's 25. Back there again is going to be a workhorse again. I mean, I love Debo.
Debo could get hurt.
And I love, well, I mean, I don't like, I'm not gonna, he could, but so could Jacob. I mean, like, you don't know.
Yeah. But that's always a risk with Debo. If he's healthy, you're good. If you like a running back.
I don't think there's as much between the value. I think I'm taking the Jacob side of this. And then look, you may luck into one with Madison. And I think that if Madison took over his backfield and Robinson took over his backfield, I would bet on Madison over Robinson.
Ooh. Interesting. I wasn't even considering the Brian Robinson. It's just, fine. It's pretty good, whatever. Depth running back. Madison's the same, but I probably have more expectation. You're right.
Yeah.
I think it's a really solid trade, and you're getting Jacobs at a good time than it is to get Jacobs. All I can tell you is I lean Debo. That's just the way I play Dynasty. But this is a solid trade. If you want Jacobs, yeah.
Well, I think like Jacobs immediately slots in as Caleb's running back 1 also, which is nice. I mean, now all of a sudden you're running back 2 or 3. You're looking at Sanders or Dobbins, and now you're feeling really good about it.
Because my content brain wants to say, no, just trade Mixon and Harris and everyone else to get this deal. But the reason they want it is because you're offering Debo. So again, like the other trade, it's probably as good as you're getting. And it's a solid deal. I would say I wouldn't, but I can't say it's wrong. Yeah, I'm just not trying to build my running back roster at this time of year, but it's a good year to try it because people are down on the running backs. Jacob should be a top 12 running back. Yeah, you should probably do it. I hate myself, but you should probably do it. 10 teams, same
thing.
Same question. Yeah. What is the theme of the book? The Boy Named Outhouse. That laugh. I have no idea, but thank you very much. Pat Rick. Who are some players you guys want to preemptively sell off of the pre-NFL draft because you're worried about them being running backs? Running backs is the easy answer here. I'll tell you what. Let me look at something I was just pulling up before the stream because I might have an answer here. No, rookies.
To me, one of the, and this people are going to hate this because he was great last year and got the franchise tag, but Tony Pollard is a player that his value has gone high enough that I am willing to sell him off, especially since you never know what Dallas is going to do with regards to putting somebody else in that backfield with him.
Right.
Stevenson is another one that, who knows what the Patriots are doing. You've seen the Patriots be linked to Bijan Robinson a couple of times. And if that happens, so much for Stevenson.
Okay, I know I have a quick and simple answer based on the volume formula I was working at, but the simple answer is everyone outside of CMC, Saquon Barkley is suspect to me in terms of expectation. They could all get a running back planted on the depth chart or get injured, and this is a good time of year on average to trade running backs away, especially before the draft. This year, running back ADP has fallen where, not like we were just talking about with the Jacobs trade, not a lot of people are giving great deals on running backs, but I'm still playing the way I play. So outside of Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey, I'm probably trading away everyone except for maybe DeAndre Swift.
Peter, earmuffs, Rashad White.
Oh, no, good one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a good value play where he's valued as like a third-round pick. I think that's interesting. But they could definitely add a running back this year, let's face it. Where he wasn't able to take the role of a Leonard Fournette, you could easily see that happen. Yeah. Are there any wide receivers you'd be concerned about? No, because I think more talent to the depth chart kind of helps receivers, whereas it hurts running backs in general.
It's the elevator escalator. I mean, that's how I kind of always think about it.
Matthew Mulligan sold CD. You fool! Nah, I don't like it, but let's go for Mark Andrews. Okay, you're back. You're back to not being a fool. Good job. And Antonio Gibson. Don't hate that, but Mark Andrews. Yeah, I get it. 2 quarterback super flex. I don't think that affects me much. Star 11 non-tight end premium feels like CD's value can't get higher. You're not wrong, but it can also just stay here for the next 10 years. So, wide receiver. Can't get higher, and Andrews was worth it. The secret here, even though you've got a little bit of a kink in your process here, like CD can't get higher, but the thing about wide receivers is they stay there for a long time.
Yeah, and I think you always want to get value for those players. And like Andrews is great.
That's what I was going to say. What saved you with that kink is that you've bought the rarest thing, the tight end that actually matters, and he's young too, and relative to the position especially. So yeah, that's a solid trade. Andrews doesn't matter to me. CD for Andrews straight up seems fair. I don't know. Actually, I think that I tricked that out on the Dynasty trade calculator. Speaking of Bob, who's coming up next, and like Andrews is valued double what CD is, and that would make this an insanely good trade. For me, it's more equal because I like CD in Dynasty for a longer period of time, but Andrews is the difference maker here. So yeah, solid, really good, man. If I can call you that, Bob Pitts is in that tier, not me.
Bob.
He's in a limbo between the two.
This is the equivalent of Elon Musk changing the Twitter avatar to the Doge dog. Like that's he's like, okay, I need to bump the stock up, help, because I have so much Pitts, and I like Pitts, and I like the idea of Pitts, but I liked buying Pitts with the idea that everyone else had of Pitts and selling Pitts for that idea. Like I got such hauls in the 2 leagues where I drafted Pitts and then immediately traded him. It was amazing.
I can't wait for the trade Pitts for Bowers year. I'm just waiting for Bob and John to be out here explaining how we should do that. Richard Davis, 10-team start 12 Superflex tight end premium. Is Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Lance Gibson is okay. I've read this wrong.
Gibson's my only running back.
Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Lance Gibson. Gibson was my only running back. Chase, AJ Brown, Waddle, DK, good wide receivers, got it. DJ Moore, Burks, all the wide receivers, and Pitts and McBride. I like that tight end core. He has a 102 and the 103. Okay, so you're set. Plus 6. Should I take 2 QBs? You see, that part should have come first, Richard. What's on your team doesn't matter. Affect who I say you should draft at each pick. It really doesn't. Quarterback is a slight difference because in Superflex we should probably just take quarterbacks as a default in the same way we take running backs as a default in 1 QB. But what you have doesn't necessarily affect who the best pick is. Don't draft your roster. Draft the best player. What does draft a value, trade for need? That's the thing, right?
That's the one.
So yeah, the 2 and the 3 should be quarterbacks. Trade down, man. that's the obvious answer here because you don't need them, and you don't want them.
The answer that I would be chasing is if I have the 102 and the 103 and the 106, I'm either trying to pair the 102 and the 106 to move up to the 101, or the 102 plus
That's a good answer.
Lance, who is extraneous, to move up to the 101. If I can get up to the 101 with some combination, now all of a sudden you're not looking at your team, Richard, and saying, oh, Gibson's my only running back. Now you're looking at your team and you're saying, I have Bijan Robinson. And so that's what I would be looking to do, is kind of package up and man, let's go.
And if you can't, you just draft the best player, to be clear, but you should be looking to try and make moves. And you might not be able to. They might not be interested now. They might want to see the draft, but keep up, be polite, send really good offers at a not hectic pace, and try and make a move. You could go up to the 101. It's a really solid idea. Honestly, if you can't, and you might not be able to, depending on your league mates or whatever else, the other thing that occurs to me is just another type of move. You could probably come up with a different one. Add Mac Jones to the 2 or the 3. Try and get a running back in the 5 or the 8. Because who knows if Addison falls down there. And you're trying to add positions to other players and getting running back a different way by trading into Barkley or CMC or whoever your top 5 you think. Jacobs, we just mentioned, undervalued top 12 running back. And you're adding a quarterback to a really good pick. You should be able to find the team behind you that's willing to give up a lower draft pick and whatever great running back they have, if you find one with a running back. And they should be happy with that. And you're helping your team, you're maintaining value, you're getting the players you want. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Again, it might not be possible, and you can go in a whole bunch of different directions, but try and make moves with these things to not draft the players that you want, draft the best players at the right spots, kind of a thing. Yeah, I like cowboying up and just taking JSN at the 102 if I have to, but I want to try everything I can to not do that because it's not the best move.
I think you could almost three-dimensional chess this too, where if you trade the 103 back to the 105 plus something, and then take Richardson at the 102, now you've got a quarterback run. And then all of a sudden, you've got Gibbs and JSN at the 5 and 6.
You could try. I don't know. I have the guts to instigate it, but it would.
I think that happens.
It would be awesome. And you didn't like you said Richardson, but you could take Stroud or Young. Your own
take
ultimately. But yeah, take your quarterback one.
No. Take Richardson because Stroud and Young are the two quarterbacks that people think are safe. I think that starts your quarterback run. Like I really like.
I see what you're saying.
Like I think you take Richardson, you get the upside of Richardson, plus you start that quarterback run. Young, Stroud, go. Now all of a sudden you've got Gibson and JSN plus the highest upside at quarterback. If you've traded your 103 back to the 105, I think that is a real.
It would be a story if you pulled it
Nice
off.
move.
Here's how I got everyone in the first round I wanted. It's like a draft day story. That one is.
That's it.
And David, you got options. I will try to make
Putney.
some moves that make sense to you based on how you value players. Yeah, that way, and get as many of the ones that you need or want for your team. But again, the thing I can tell you that is true that I do apply to all my drafts, even if we don't make the exact same moves of the same players, is don't draft the player that you need for your team. Draft the best player that's available. Trade for the things that you need. Again, you can always just cowboy up and say, screw it, I'm taking the guy I want because it's your team ultimately. And Dynasty is meant to be fun. But if I'm going to tell you something to try and carry with you to, help out in more situations than exactly this one, that's kind of what we stick to. Hurricane Lane, Humblebrag traded the 112 and the 202 and Hawkinson for Mark Andrews and Cooper Kupp. Wow.
Don't be so humble.
9.
Shout that
That's
from
really
the
good
rooftops.
Trade.
Yeah.
202. Reach on Gibbs and JSM will still be able to get one of the top 3 QBs at 106. You see, that is a way of trying to game your draft, though. Like, what if the QB you get is terrible? What if they don't exactly make Zach was trying to game plan it out, so he instigated. But you can't just hope they do what you want, if you know what I mean. Like, taking Gibbs doesn't put any pressure on them to take the players that you want them to. Trade back. I don't know, though. You do know your league. If the guy in that pick just is prone to cowboying up and taking Gibbs and you want Gibbs, I mean, it's a different conversation. But in general, that's the question. Not should I take the player I want over the quarterback. Quarterback is one exception to just take your guy that I do have for my general approach to rookie drafts in general, because quarterback is just undervalued. Like someone, actually, one of the DMs I got this week was asking about CD Lamb and a top 3 or 4 pick in this draft in a Superflex league. And I was like, yeah, CD Lamb is worth less than that. And the way I tried to explain it was, well, there's going to be several quarterbacks taken in the top 15. And his question, very fair, was, so any quarterback taken in the top 15 is worth more than a top 12 wide receiver? And the answer is yes. The fact that you would ask that that's why quarterbacks are a little undervalued, because the upside and the expectation, the length, it's all on the quarterback, and yet it still seems crazy to value the top 12 wide receiver. Outside of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, try trading for Tua right now. Most people are going to say I need a quarterback in return because there's more value in the quarterback, especially after a draft.
There are 10 quarterbacks right now ahead of CD Lamb in DLF's Superflex ADP. 10.
Yep. And again, your league might be different. I might undervalue quarterback to the extreme, so you get to play around with that. But
yep,
that's just a thing that you can try and take advantage of. You know what I mean? For context, only one other team has picks for the next 2 years and will only accept overpays. Okay, so trading is not an option. But also, you've got like some of the best picks in this draft. If you take the quarterbacks there, he's going to be all fucking stuck. Demanding overpays, by the way, best player to beat in the league. That feels like the most fun. Don't you think? Like if you take the quarterback at 2 and at 3 and then at 6, it's going to be Addison or it's going to be Gibbs. Both really good picks. Like he's going to be sitting there with what was left and Bijan Robinson. And there's going to be misses, man. So, yeah, it's still probably better to take the best player and not the players that you need. Puff pass kick. The word on the street is not to waste picks on tight ends. Is it? If you're in a rebuild mode and trying to stay away from running backs, well, you don't have to, but okay. And have picks. Is it bad to do some tight end dark? No. Sorry, Zach, you go first. I got words.
Well, no, the words on the street are don't spend a first round pick on tight ends. Once you're out of the first round, like, and especially in this class where there are some really nice athletic profiles with these tight ends, if Mayer is in the second round, if Kincaid is in the second round, I'm even a big fan of Washington, although I'm a little leery on whether or not he pans out because he's such a good blocker. Like he is incredible, but there's the caveat that he's such a good blocker that a team may just say, "Hey, we have a second tackle that we can use." So, no, I don't think that there's any reason to stay away from tight ends after the early second at all. Like, why not? You have to be patient.
In fact, I think there's impetus to focus.
Yeah.
Like, rookie tight ends suck, don't get me wrong. But the deeper you go in rookie drafts or in real startup ADP or in redraft, you should be leaning towards the running back. We talk about that ad nauseum. But the other advantage is tight ends. The position that most likely outscores his expectation in that you're getting more points than you should on a per-game basis in season is tight end. The deeper you go in the draft, the more likely that tight end is to pay off. Last year is how we ended up with Evan Ingram. He provided more value than anyone you could have drafted in 3 rounds around him. And the best way to him was just focus tight end. Having said that, rookie tight ends are a little bit of a different proposition. I did really, really interesting article. I think everyone should read by Corey. He's on DLF. I forget his name. He does that cool show, Corey Spalla. I don't know how to say that, but it's on DLF. I retweeted it recently with some snide comments. I want to fight him about how we should expect production from 2 tight ends. So there's another perspective for you. But I think he's doing it by setting a really interesting line of what to expect. It's getting 30 passes. It's getting 300 yards. It's what Greg Luch did last year. We can expect some level. But for the most part, Trey McBride's also happened. Travis Kelce's waiting till after his knee heals happen a lot as well. So you are kind of signing up for a long haul pick. But outside, especially of the mid-second round, like that's fine. So I actually kind of like leaning towards that position. The same way we lean running back for a decision maker in the first round, all the way to the mid-second. I lean tight end a little bit more than I lean running backs. There are so many deep running backs, and I have so little that actually provides an edge at a certain point for one running back or another, like Roschon Johnson or Tajay Spears. Roschon Johnson playing in a better conference. Tajay Spears played the full role. We don't know the draft capital. I don't know from my perspective. But at tight end, Kincaid, proven excellent receiver. Well, Zach can tell you how good he is. But in terms of his production numbers, excellent receiver.
Yeah.
And Washington too. Like he's a perfect example of why I think more O-linemen, if they don't make it like to a full-time contract, should just try tight end. Because a guy built like that who shows any ability in the receiving game could seriously set fire to the league. And we always talk about positional converts. I mean, it's how Waller made it. It's how Funches tried. So a lot of receivers tried, but I'm seriously, O-lineman, just give it a go. Just give it a go. Run a route. Because that level of physical monster who already knows how to block, wow, could be special. But Anyway, sorry, I've gone on, but I actually like leaning tight end quite a lot, so I'll be interested in. Just know you're in for a long haul, and sometimes, a lot of times, they don't work out because not many tight ends do work out. But there's relatively little upside at a certain point, especially in a rookie draft. So do lean that way. Yeah. Lakers ex-Commanders. I have an issue. Me too, man. I'm a commission in my home league, and a person traded the 101 Devontae Smith and the 24 first for Joe Burrow last night. In the Superflex, I kind of get it, I guess. The person receiving Burrow woke up this morning and said he was drunk. I've actually, not the drunk thing, but I've done trades that I didn't mean to do. So, and once his pick's back, what should I do? The ultimate answer to this, and I've been on his end, the guy who's upset, I've been on that end. And I try to be a good league mate. And so my answer is, I would like to reverse it. If they do not want to, I am fine with that. And I think as a commissioner, that is the answer. If you made this trade, dude, and if they don't want to reverse it, they don't have to. And if they do, they want to be a stand-up guy or whatever, I don't think it's being a stand-up guy. It's just, trying to make a friend with your league mate. Then they can reverse it. But it's not up. You shouldn't force that. That's on you. Don't get drunk and send trade offers. You knew what you were doing. And I've done it by accidentally. Like I'm constantly reworking the trade, and I'll leave a box tick I didn't expect to. And then they accept the trade because obviously they're getting an extra quarterback. I'm like, this is what happened. So I wasn't even drunk, but I won't expect them to do it because those are the league rules. It's not in the league rules. You have like a 24-hour buyer's remorse policy. If it is, then you enforce that rule. But outside of that, it's just between the two teams. Like that's the way I would play it. And if someone leaves the league because of that, that's fine. That's you doing your job. Yeah, you don't need that person in your league. If the person who is in my position sends trades knowing they are inebriated and could be making a bad decision, they go into that doing that, then they're going to do it again. So yeah, if it's not in the league rules, those are the things you can enforce. You can try and be a reasonable league mate, which is why that person reversed it with me and why I was willing to accept it not being reversed. But the commissioner's job is to enforce the rules. That's it. That's your only rule. You don't enforce anything other than that. You could bring it up for a conversation in the offseason. Hey, do we want a buyer's remorse policy? Which I think most people would say no, because it sucks to make a trade and then have it reversed suddenly when you work hard on it, or don't, for that matter. Sorry, those are my 4 cents. I've never been a commissioner, but I have been a league mate who's made this mistake, and that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's outside of your purview as a commissioner to step in and reverse that, because to me, once it goes through, it goes through. Now, again, if you have that conversation with the player who got the picks and he says, yeah, okay, I understand, that's a little bit different. Then fine, but
don't put pressure on him. He can
absolutely
do it or not.
Yep. No, I agree with you, Peter. That's you made your bed and now you're in it. I mean, if you can't go to your wife and be like, look, I traded my Devontae Smith in the 101 because I got drunk, and expect her not to be mad. That's how it is. There are consequences to that.
Yeah. Fortunate part of being or not, it feels like I get it because they've been snarky about it because I do it a lot. And I feel like coming back to them, but the honest truth is they're my actions, and I'm a grown-up big boy, and that's part of being a grown-up big boy. Like you just have to accept the consequences of your actions. So even in a silly Dynasty game, even more so in silly things. If you can't do it in silly things, how are you going to do it in important things? But yeah, none of that is your job. If you want to be a good commissioner, the commissioners I have are good. I only play in leagues where I trust the commissioners these days because so many do it so badly. And that's the way John Bosch would tell me. It's like, those are the rules, Pete. That's what I'm going to enforce. It's the way Dynasty Outhouse has done it as well. And they're right to, unfortunately. Tyson, how high would you guys take Kincaid, Meyer, and a start 2 tight end team Superflex League? Meyer's probably a late first round pick. That's where his ADP is going to be. So if you want him, that's where you're going to have to take him. And Kincaid's late second is hoping. I probably want to take him around there.
After the draft, you
It's a
won't be
tight
able to
end.
take him there because I think they'd probably both go in the first round, and all of a sudden now they're
Yeah.
especially in a two tight end league. Once I get to 108, 109, they're on the board. They're in play. In a two tight end.
See, my ideal is dratching Deluch in the third round like we were doing last year, or even Isaiah Likely. I was pretty happy with the results there too. Both third, fourth round picks. They're awesome. Outside of that, I go in on sophomore tight ends. Like you can do it with Deluch right now. Now, usually you don't see a value drop, but you also don't see a value increase. Like even Kyle Pitts, for as high as he was valued, he had 1,000-yard season, still really didn't get harder to trade for. And so even the ones who hit relatively high early, sophomore tends to be where I'll go in on guys like that. Hawkinson, Fant, all a similar pattern. You didn't get cheaper, but you got to see it work out for a year. There's less hype, less excitement because it's not a rookie pick, and you can trade pretty much the same thing to get him next year if I think I need that. So I did Pat Fairmouth as well, to be fair. That's where I ended up with him. I bought him in his sophomore off-season, not very much in the rookie draft because he was higher value because of his draft capital. But yeah, loose rules. That's how I try and play it. Richard Davis, no.
Don't do that one, Richard. No.
I've also looked into trading the 102 and the 106 for Lamb. Was this super flex? I forget. Yeah, it was. Again, that goes back to my Lamb's worth less than the 102, or at least even to the 102, 103.
Yeah. And then throwing in JSN on top of that. No, don't do that, Richard. I'd much rather, like, if you're looking at that, I'd much rather take Gibbs and JSN at 2 and 3 and give up that value and then get the quarterback at 6.
That's actually how we might.
Yeah. I would
Richard
rather
Zach's
do that.
Got a good point here. Like we're saying, don't do this, don't do that. But let's put it in a priority. I would rather make trades where you say, especially given the situation describing, it's not possible. I would rather you just take the players that you want at 2 and 3 than do a trade like this.
Yep.
Yeah. If those are your two options, you can read your league better than I can, then yeah, you just take the players that you want. Sean, I'm in a 12-team Superflex startup draft. I made a lot of moves. He's punting this year. For which team? I have Fields rookie 101, 102, and 924 first. Good year to stack up for next year, I hear. It's not a bad year. I mean, good Superflex for sure.
Good quarterbacks, yeah.
Good moves. It sounded like you're making the right moves for the way you want to approach this year as well, because those are all liquid. Which is the best team you have assembled on paper? I don't have it's not on. I don't have it anymore. Time moved on. The league tank. My favorite team right now is actually in a format that would take too long to describe. So it's probably the DLF Pod League. I like what I've been doing in that league. I've been getting to the playoffs. I'm top 3 for most of the year, and then week 8 I'm starting to sell out. So the first year I ended up selling Najee Harris by week 8 and trading him into CD Lamb. I've traded CD Lamb into various different things. Now I have Kittle, Pat Fairmouth, because I started to push some of that value toward tight end. I just think I'm managing my value well. When I start not to lose, I'm actually actively trading into other positions I know the value is going to be more sustainable on. In the offseason, I'm building up points per game at lesser value positions. So weirdly, the opposite of my usual builds, I've had 2 solid top 5 quarterbacks every year, even though they've been different every year. Like it was Hurts and Mahomes, and now it's Lamar and Mahomes, for example. And I've actually moved it more to the tight end position outside of my running back. So the value from the Njoku's kind of become Pat Fairmouth and George Kittle now. But at the wide receiver position, I also have Cup, Bateman, who I have higher expectations on the most, and also Jalen Waddle. He's their top 12 picker right now. I think that's having a lot of stars at those 3 positions. My running back's trash, obviously, because that's where I moved all the value from, but I did manage to trade into Aaron Jones, who was already started to eke into that position. I think 3 years of being relatively top 3 for the first 8 weeks and still maintaining that many top 10 picks, I think I've done pretty well going into our third year. I'm pretty happy with the way it's gone anyway. It's not like a star-studded team, but I am playing with literally just DLF podcasters, and they all kind of know what they're doing. So I'm pretty happy for navigating it that well. You got a mind-blowing team over there? Oh, Goff is my QB3, which I think is pretty neat.
Like a current roster, or is this all time? Because like all time, I had a team in my home league that I identified the 2017 draft class as the draft class I wanted to get in, and so I had the 101, 102, 103, and 105.
Yeah, that probably looked pretty neat.
Yeah, and so that ended up with some pretty good running backs plus Kareem Hunt, and I think that was the Galladay year and the Cup year also, and I was on them. And then I traded one of those picks into the next year, and so I ended up with Barkley on top of Cook, Mixon, McCaffrey, and then drafted Chubb also. So like that team was pretty fun. I won a couple of years in a row with that one, and that's probably the best team that I've ever put together. But
yeah, any team that I was thinking about this the other day randomly, if you build around 2017, not the lauded 22 or 2014 draft classes, first round running backs and second round wide receivers, that team would still be dominant today. 5 years later.
Oh, so
I got
since then I went back to back, right? And then I finished second the last 2 years. So it's been a pretty fun run.
Yeah. Which did I miss one? No. Which Wilson has a better value for what you would want to trade to get him, Zach or Russ? Well,
I would rather have Russ, regardless of what the value is to go get him. Am I wrong on that one? Like,
I agree.
Okay.
No, I agree. I thought he was asking you or Russ, and then I just realized he meant Zach Wilson or Russ Wilson. Yeah, Russ Wilson all day, every day.
I don't have an H, so Eric knows that. You know, he would have spelled my name right. So
true. Hawk, yeah, Hawkinson's in that upper middle class. I think Zach described.
Yeah, the white collar tight ends,
I think he and Dallas got it. Are interesting right now. Like Dallas is, I think they're the same thing fantasy wise, and Hawkinson's lauded as higher, which means he's more of a sell. But I like them both pretty well. Just wanted to remind everyone that not every Dynasty owner is obsessed as us. True, consuming tens of hours of Dynasty content every week. True. I would also say there's a diminishing expectation of return in the amount of time we spend in it. Like the more time I invest in it doesn't mean I get exponentially better at it. And so, I'm just saying don't underrate the average player either, because the average player knows probably as much as they need to compete with you. That's a remarkably frustrating thing. We do it. Only do as much as is fun, because honestly, you don't suddenly become Evan Silver, I guess is the name that's coming off the top of my head, because you expend exponential X amount of effort. I sent the 106 and a 1 QB league for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Awesome trade. As a conversation starter, and they accepted over the moon. That's an awesome trade, dude. Good job. And yeah, you're right. Sometimes you should just turn the offers. You never know. But that's also to Leo's point. Like, know your league. You know when people... You can know when people are more inclined to value rookies and maybe a little bit too highly, especially if you're paying attention to the league. Fly, good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Happy Wednesday. Can't wait for the draft. Been looking forward to it for months now. Yeah, I'm kind of ready for it. I'm really behind on my content this week, but I've got to wrap up the pre-draft evaluations by doing tight ends, but that's about it. Like I'm pretty set. I want to start digging into reformatting the database into a more understandable way and looking at NFL stats and predicting breakouts. Like I'm ready. Let's go. I'm not ready for the season, except for the off season actually, but I am ready to see more information from the draft. With a good left tackle, finally, is Joe Burrow's value actually understated right now?
I mean, QB3.
Not in Dynasty. He's about where I would have him. Yeah, I think it goes to your league, man. If he's not valued as a top 5,
yeah. He's good.
Mahomes
He's
and
good.
Allen, different level of pros. I don't think he gets into that tier no matter how epically awesome he is and how many Super Bowls he wins, because fantasy is a different expectation to NFL. But if you're talking about talent in the NFL, he might be underrated. I don't think so. I think Herbert is the one who people are more likely to think is less talented for reasons that are entirely unrelated to him right now. But Herbert and Joe Burrow easily top 5 in terms of what they're going to do for their teams over the next 20 years, you know? So we should like Joe Burrow a lot. Where are you guys at for Rachaad White and Superflex half-point PPR? Like I said, I'm really interested in him because he's being valued in Dynasty by calculators like a 3rd-round pick. And I'll take a depth running back with that much draft capital on that team with Leonard Fournette. Like that just seems, and he had a pretty good prospect profile too in terms of overall production. But like, there's also guys in this year's draft in the 2nd round with that. So like, if he's starting to be bumped up to there, he's suddenly even with the market, and I'll take the younger guy. That's about where I'm at. Zach is frozen.
No,
thinking.
I'm
Eric,
nodding.
Flex PP.
I'm nodding vigorously.
I can see that. Sorry.
Yeah. What are you? Are you downloading a sheet or updating a sheet now, Pete? Is that what's going on?
I am actually. I've been checking it, but nothing's going on over here. But my I don't know. Maybe it's Discord. I'll close Discord for a second. Superflex PPR Star 11 got off an ETN for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yep.
That's actually pretty good value on ETN for a regular office season, but Amon-Ra St. Brown's value is too low as well, so that's the wrong guy for me. So yeah, it's ASRB. It's good old Sun God. But solid if you want a running back. I can get Christian Kirk for my 106. No. Even in a 1 QB, I think I want to take the flyer on the 106. Christian Kirk is Christian Kirk. I think there's more upside in the maybe a boat there, but I'm a hater, and Dynasty Outhouse isn't here to defend him.
Yeah, no, I'd rather have the 106 than Kirk, but then I'd try to trade the 106 for something better than Kirk. I think that's what I would be doing.
Yeah, I think you could get Addison around there in most drafts. I don't think I haven't checked in a while.
In one quarterback, I think that you're pushing it there.
Well, I think Downs is just a younger version of his upside. If you know what I mean? Like, I don't expect Downs to have the upside of Addison or JSN, but I think he has Kirk upside, and I think he's very easily worth being. And I'm checking, but I think he's below the 106 if I were to guess right now. So, like, that's not a bad floor if Addison goes earlier, if you know what I mean. And that's why I'm kind of leaning towards it.
Yeah, I don't mind getting out of Kirk.
Sorry, I haven't checked this in a while, and I should probably. Yeah. Let's see, rookie 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, Addison's going at 4 according to ADP. Quentin Johnson, Zach Charbonnet, Zay Flowers, who I don't mind, and then Downs is at 8. So I think that's a really solid tier to be in on over Kirk. Personally, I pick your poison. Personally, I like Downs, but Zay Flowers got a strong case for him, and Quentin Johnson's a solid prospect too. Or you can take like your running back 3, which is not a bad idea. Equity loans. Matt Waldman is very high on Dalton Kincaid. He should be. He's an excellent producer. Do you guys feel the same? And does he have the profile for a tight end to finally break out? Honestly, at this point, you don't want rookie tight end breakouts. Do you want me to name them? Because you don't like them. It's Kyle Pitts. It's Evan Ingram. There's one other. But either way, same value arc. Like, everyone hated them after they broke out. Their values actually dropped. Like, there's not enough of them for it actually to be a negative signal, but like, don't. That's not what tight ends do. But no, he's not a better prospect than Kyle Pitts. He can't possibly have better expectation in terms of landing spot and draft capital than Kyle Pitts. He can't be a better prospect to break out in his rookie season than Kyle Pitts was. And again, Kyle Pitts did, and everyone was disappointed in it. So I'm not sure it's a thing we should be hunting. as a rule. I like the sophomore tight end play. But no, Don Kincaid isn't as good. I actually have him as a tight end 3 right now because he didn't run a 40. I like him as a tight end 2, but the draft is going to have to sort it out for me. The NFL is going to have to prove that they know before I can have him as a 2. Who do I have over from? It's Maya and then Sam Laporta, who might actually be the value if everyone's that high on Kincaid, because I like them both pretty well.
Yeah, I haven't watched enough Laporta to like give a real, but I think he's going to be the steal.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's really solid. Kittle was a below average profile. Just to put the full stop on how tight end
great
athletic
profile though.
Yes, excellent, but also and he was a better producer than Jelani Woods, for example. Like tight end's really easy if you just allow yourself not to get lost in exact threshold. Just accept the truth. Don Kincaid is really good. We're gonna have to see the NFL bet on him. Kyle Pitts is the best tight end prospect we've seen. Apparently, Bowers is going to be better. Which at this point I'm just willing to believe. Evan Ingram was the best prospect before Kyle Pitts. We actually do pretty well. Hawkinson and Fant were both well known. But those that get early draft capital, their expectation often outweighs what they could possibly do early. Even Kyle Pitts had a 1,000-yard season and everyone's disappointed in his rookie year. And Evan Ingram got 700 yards, but also got a lot of touchdowns. So he had actually a similar output in his rookie year. And everyone was excited. And then he just forgot how to catch the ball for a couple years. So everyone started undervaluing him. It's like, it's a wild ride, but just don't think it's wide receiver. It's not, are they going to become Chase and Waddle in that rookie? Like, tight ends don't do that. And when they do, it's often just like, it can happen, obviously, because there's nothing about having tight end next to your name that stops anything in particular happening in the real world. But I'm all about setting reasonable expectations. So, like, I'm hoping for 300 yards from a tight end, 30 targets in the rookie season. Or honestly, Trey McBride doing nothing. I'm not that disappointed. He's a rookie tight end. I knew what I was signing up for. And that has better results for me than that kind of idea. But, hey, what do I know?
Nice.
Update. Yeah, he accepted my offer, AJ Brown. That's awesome, man. Thanks, guys. Perspectives much appreciated. Thank you, Benjamin. Appreciate that. Corey, 12-team Superflex 1.5 tight end premium. Dak, Jefferson, Waller, Lockett, Mahomes, like the team. DJ Moore, Deontay, definitely like the team. And Smith.
No, this is a trade. Dak,
it is?
Jefferson, Waller, Lockett,
I see
or Mahomes, Moore, Deontay Johnson, Irv Smith.
There's way too much in this trade, honestly. First opinion. Dak, Jefferson, Mahomes, DJ Moore. That's a Jefferson. No, in a Superflex, that's a Mahomes side.
I think it's Mahomes, but it's close.
Waller. I think Mahomes is just too big in this deal. He just shines a light on everything. I like getting Jefferson, don't get me wrong. Waller, I kind of like all the players in this trade, apart from Irv Smith, which is a downgrade on that side. It's pretty even, but I think you just take Mahomes in most trades where it comes out even. Like, Lockett's a great value. I love Jefferson. But the difference between Dak and Mahomes in Dynasty is just insurmountable. Yeah. Especially when you're adding to Mahomes. Jeez.
I mean, Jefferson and Mahomes are closer.
Like, yeah. Very much so. Frank N, you're the guy I want to trade Ayuk to. I'm pretty sure Peter just called me. No! I don't think in terms of suckers. That's the thing. Like, I like because I don't know. Ayuk could easily be the guy everyone's always promised he's going to be. He's very capable. He's been very good. But at this point, you would have expected to see it. Other than him taking up Deebo Samuel's role for a little while when he was injured in that first season. Like, that's what happened. And it's very possible that coaches matter more than them wading into the average. Like, Kyle Shanahan can literally revolutionize that offense next year. I'm sure he's capable. He's a very talented coach. He's a different kind of coach. But he would have to run an entirely different scheme for it to happen. And I just think that's a low odds bet. Like, maybe they won't start running through the center of the field just because of Lance. And I'm not going to bet on that. Lance
If
Ayuk is very capable, and frankly, Devereaux's good on the outside if they want to use him there. Kittle's always going to occupy the center and the red zone. It's possible. It's just you need players to leave, get injured, the entire offensive scheme to change. Like, those are things that we have no control over, and if they don't happen, you can't be like, well, got close. It's like, no, you're expecting something entirely outlandish to happen for him to become Calvin Johnson. Like, why not just accept he's a very, very good Brandon Ayuk?
if you're in a room and you can't find the Brandon Ayuk, you're the Brandon Ayuk. Peter Howard.
Again, he's top Varian was a top 24 wide receiver in Dynasty. I don't say it lightly. But that's not like the hype on Ayuk because of his size and his physique and the fact he is good gets up to Calvin Johnson proportions really quickly. And you know this because we literally saw him do it after his rookie season. I'm just always betting the under on that guy's going to be Calvin Johnson. Outside of Chase and Jefferson. There you go. Maybe cut. Really Truther. Yo, gents, good to see you. On a 12-team Zooflex 1 PPR league, 2.5 tight end premium. Lost in the semifinals. That's hard to hear, man, but it happens. Losing Tua and Lamar. Yeah, that'll do it. Would you move Lamar plus the 108 to tear up to Allen Mahomes?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just running through it. Yeah, easily, actually. The 108 and the Superflex is, is a pretty good pick. Lamar Jackson's upside is there, but he is not in that separate tier. So it is a tier up. That's what was making me pause. So yeah, this is an easy, the 108 just to get to Allen Mahomes, easy yes.
And I'd rather add to the second part of it, I'd rather add Ayuk to that than Goddard in a 2.5 premium.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I agree. Logan Walker, 12-team through flex, need receivers. Don't need anything, Logan. Just some happiness. No, I'm kidding. Would you trade Mixon and Claypool for Amari? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, which is weird because I don't think Cooper has much value, but I think Cooper's going to score a bunch of points.
No, but Cooper's the one. Claypool's nothing. And
no, I agree.
Got years left being good than Mixon has of being good at a different position. Just the wide receiver.
I agree with you, Peter. I'm just saying, like it's a weird, like looking at.
No,
it,
I was just running through my thought process. Like you can disagree with any part of that, Walker, and that's Logan. That's why you go another direction. But that's why I was like, that would be an easy Cooper for me. Trade Olave or McCaffrey. Does one side for McCaffrey maybe one side need to add more purely for value? What about the true contender? Hard to know who is a true contender. More teams should think they're not than they do. This is McCaffrey.
Well, but this is the type of trade that I would be making because again, I'd rather be out on McCaffrey a year early and get Olave. I would be trying to get a piece with Olave. I may do like Olave in a second for McCaffrey in a first. Yeah,
it's very close, Nathan. And the side that I would want is like you say, it's about how competitive I think my team is. Just try and be objective about that assessment because it's the hardest part. I think, but I think it's pretty even. Otherwise, you could maybe throw a second on either side, but it's a fair trade. Devin, I just traded for Saquon in a league last week. Any concern on him holding out this year? I try not to.
Yeah,
I don't probably know this if you've been here, Dev, and I mostly wait till something happens to believe it. I like to buy in on players where this uncertainty of outcome makes it more possible because players have got to play and players want to play ultimately to earn money. So I lean on that side of it. But I mean, you got to have some concern, but I would buy the dip with someone like Saquon Barkley if possible. And it seems like you've done that. So I agree. Costy, 12 team Superflex 2.0 tight end premium, start 12 best ball. 25 first or Josh Jacobs? Josh Jacobs, actually. That's actually a pretty decent trade where it's 2 years out. You have 2 years to get a first back for that draft class, and you've got top 12 running back for next year. I think that's a pretty savvy trade.
Yep, I don't mind that.
Recovering Ridley Truther, data gets done, but we're thinking Lamar and Goddard plus a 108 for Allen and Diggs. Whoa, that's too much.
I don't think you're getting both.
Just throwing in Diggs. Again, we talk about how everyone overvalues age all the time, but then it shows up when you're like, oh, and just throw in Diggs. And I'm like, wait, no.
Yeah.
Underestimating or overestimating the age gap, whichever works. Massive premium scoring. But Diggs is just too much.
Yeah, you know what's really cool? Fantasy points. And Diggs does that. Yeah.
Winning is also
yeah.
But yeah, good luck, I guess. Joe McCarter, 12 teams Superflex. I gave London the 112 and the 212 for the 104. It's a Superflex, so honestly, yeah, this makes sense. Yeah. London's a little undervalued, though, so it's a bad time to trade him, but it makes sense because you're actually
get a quarterback.
Yeah, you're getting the option of a quarterback at least. If the top 3 QBs don't go in the first 10 picks in the NFL draft, I'm going to be mad. I think you're going to be okay. I think you're going to get at least 3 quarterbacks that go top 10 this year, which gives you a choice.
Yeah.
And if the other guys all take a quarterback, that means you get Bijan Robinson, and you're also happy. So, I don't think there's a downside here, unless it's Levis. But whatever. Ridley Truther. Aren't Berkeley Truther scared to not be trading him for max value right now with his lengthy injury history? It's not a lengthy injury.
Remember that ankle he rolled? Yeah.
No. And the second year running back window, I'm a 0 RB Truther. I'm biased, so I don't know. It just feels like I'm one of two. Again, tight end is more like running back. Value and points wise. There are very few that matter that much, and that's what creates their value. Barkley and CMC are kind of it. So no, I'm not going to wade in this kind of stuff.
So the 1 of 2 goes down to the 2 of 2. He said, I feel like I'd rather be a year early than a year late. And I am that way with running backs in general. Again, unless I am in my window where I am competing. And then I'm going to hang on to Barkley. But if I'm in a window where I can get a young wide receiver plus something for Barkley, then I'm going to do that. Like that's kind of how I operate.
The other thing to think about with this is we all say buy running backs when you need them, but you realize you don't get the Christian McCaffrey and you're never getting that very young top 5 stub. What you're doing is you're trading for the running back flavor of the month for that run. And then their value's gone when the season's ended.
Yeah.
So that normally, don't get me wrong, you're trying to get Barkley. So no.
I mean,
the injury history, just get out of here with that.
In the last few years for me, the trade targets to win leagues have been Eckler, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. Those have been, and
it's not all McKissick. Don't get me wrong, but they're not.
I love me some McKissick, but
yeah, what I mean is if you find yourself in a window this year, not going to be trading for Breece Hall, the value is going to be too much to do it.
Right.
So you're either accepting you're never getting a Barkley CM, or you're not playing for Barkleys and CMCs and Halls, or you try to get into that tier of running back, which is also viable. But if a running back's been hurt, it just means he's in the NFL. I think he's more likely. Kid Coop, 12 team Superflex, start 10. I have Deshaun Watson, Trey Lance, Kenny Pickett, also Lamb, Metcalf, DJ Moore, Ayuk, Elijah Moore, Burks, wide receiver. Should I trade Pickett and Elijah Moore? Yes. And the 107 for Purdy and the 103.
Yes.
So you're paying Pickett and Moore to move up 4 spots, and Purdy doesn't matter.
You potentially get 2 quarterbacks.
You're getting into the quarterback range, though. So yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you get Purdy plus another quarterback.
Yeah,
I'd do that.
That's decent. Recovering Ridley Truther again.
Oh, that's the second part. I
Like
already read
rather
that.
be a year out. That applies, but it doesn't apply if you don't get the value. Like this type of thinking is like, get rid of Barkley. But a good trade is a good trade. That's not trade say. I'm not trading Saquon Barkley because I'm trying to get out a year early, because that means you will be willing to take the trades you can get. If you know what I mean? Some players I'm willing to do that on. But Barkley, CMC, it's like Jefferson and Chase. Like I'm for the other position. I'm just not gonna try to get out of them unless I'm getting a good trade, if you know what I mean. But at the right value, like there are some players that I will. We've been talking about a few of them tonight. But this is different kind of cats. Where was I?
Right here.
We were here. Thank you, Zach. And then I clicked on this one. And Richard.
No, you were on the right one. That's I said you were right there.
Then Richard. See, I was confused. I thought I'd gone back in time because we were talking to Richard earlier. Team of the 102, 103, and 106. The 101 guy only wants 102 and 103. Also, he's the guy that has literally every other pick.
Yeah, so
if he wants something and he's the top star. Yeah. He's telling you need to overpay to give him what he wants. Don't. Like I hate that kind of. You have to. My only rule is people are allowed not to be excited about what you're offering and just not accept it. You have to make a trade exciting to them. You have to give something that they want. But if other people are like, you need to give me more than you should for this, no, I'm out. Like that's just not someone that I'm often going to find a trade that works for me and you. If you're willing to make me excited about the trade and you get excited because you're also getting something, that's a trade that can work. But yeah, largely I think we've already cottoned on to what I think is the best strategy. If you can't get a decent trade, like some version of what we were talking about trying to get what you need by trading back or trading up to the 101, then you can take your players at the 2 and 3 and let him live with it. If he's forcing you into that situation. Because essentially it's a very different draft when 12 people are drafting versus 2 people are drafting. That's not overreaching. Essentially, you're just taking the 5th and the 6th player because he has locked the others in to being one single pick, essentially. You could think about it that way. And that's the way I actually think about it. Shoku, pushing to contend. 10-team Superflex start 10. First trade, I sent Walker and the 305 for Cup and got it. Second trade, sent Javonte and the 308 for Dalvin Cook and the 24-second. So one at a time. He sent Walker and the 305 for Cup and got it. I think that's solid. Yeah, I think Goddard and Cup add more points per game to your weekly starting lineup than just Walker, and the 305 isn't much, so I like that. Second sent Javonte and the 308 for Dalvin Cook. That one I'm not sure I understand. I think Dalvin Cook, I'd have to check, but isn't he like a top 18 running back expected next year?
Yeah, I don't know. I know that he's kind of one of those guys that is at the end of what we expect to be productive.
Well, we're interested in Madison, for example. Yeah. Like he could be the starter. And again, expectation, I'm taking that from redraft. That's not, I've done projections for next season because redrafters are pretty sharp at this point. And if they have lower expectation for Cook next year, we should probably take that into account. I'm not sure you've traded into more certain points, whereas Javonte's value is definitely going to increase at some point. So I think you might have been a little trigger happy here. But I like the first one a lot. So kind of counterbalances. And like Russ says, the only thing that fixes a trade is another trade. So you're good. Keep working. And again, Cook was at least and has been an exceptional player. He could confound that expectation. So I'm not telling you to hate yourself for it or nothing. Richard Davis. Also, if the draft goes accordingly, it's Bijan 101. The 102 could be me. Could be Gibbs. Actually could be viably. But in a Superflex, probably shouldn't be. The 103 is JSN. The 104, say Stroud. And 105, say Young. Then I can get Richardson and the 106.
Yeah,
it's a fair point to point out that the 106 could easily still be a quarterback, especially if you know that guy's not going to take Richardson, because you can probably know that about your league mate if you're pretty in tune. That'd be a solid draft. Again, I think the situation you're describing is very league dependent, but he's essentially locked those picks in. There's just 2 of you drafted in the top 6. That's a different kind of rookie draft, and it's fine to just take your players there, I think, if you can't get reasonable trades.
Richard, if you're going to do that, take JSN at 102 and then Gibbs. Just no.
Yeah, actually, no, I like that. Just make the point. Like, you would never get in this guy unless you gave me. Yeah. I like that a lot. Because you're right. The 6, you probably still getting a quarterback, and if it's
you
Richardson,
will, you definitely will if you take those. Yeah.
Yep. I like the way you're thinking about it, and again, where this draft, this first 6 picks is just you and one other guy, you can kind of think about it 2 different picks. You're not actually overdrafting him with a generic advice I was trying to give before. It's not the same thing. So I think you're adjusting to the situation fairly well here, Richard. Follow your gut. Gavin Grant, Kyler and Chark, or Lance and the 105? Kyler and Chark, Lance and 105. I never want to roster Chark. Is the problem. The 105 in a super flex, that's a good pick there.
I think I'd rather have Kyler. I do. It's probably JSN or Gibbs, but I think I'd rather have Kyler.
Does the not starting Kyler thing make it more situational for you? Like, if you're more competitive, would you lean the other side? Or competitive at all? No?
Who's to say Lance is going to be a starter, though? Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm not... It's not a knock at Lance. I just think there's as much nebulousness with him.
I'm more sure of Kyler than Lance. That's fair. It's just I have no interest in Chark and the 105. I'm actually pretty interested in.
So take Chark in your first and go try to get the 105 and don't mess with Kyler. Like that.
Another trade is probably the answer here, Gavin. Yeah. Otherwise, unless you're getting the Kyler side, and then I think that's right. I'd rather have Kyler than
even if you get the Kyler side, go then try to trade Chark and get a pick that you read. Go turn around and trade Chark in your first for the 106 or whatever it is that you're gonna do, and still go try to get Gibbs or JSN. Like, I don't know.
Solid. Corey, I joined a startup last year where I traded away the majority of my players for picks, and I've seen people do that. I'm entering this year's rookie draft, the 101 to the first 6 picks. You should check out something called the J Mike Invitational. I think it's recorded somewhere. You're gonna have some fun, Corey. I would have fun with it. It's a rare event, and you should definitely do it. He has Chase, Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, and Kyle Pitts. You said it. You did this well, Corey. But seriously, check out J Mike Check. I'm pretty sure he recorded it, and it's still out there. It's a lot of fun to watch J Mike just make the first 12 picks, any order that he wanted, and you made a plan here, and you've managed to execute it. And you've done it very strongly if that's your roster as well. So, respect is in order. I like it. Brian, I have the 202 in my 10-team 1QB league, and my current strategy when my pick is up is to say in league chat, we'll trade this pick for any 24 first. So if you have a guy you love, come get him. Thoughts? I think that's fine, especially if your league is pretty active in the group chat. Another step is to send those offers. Just everyone below you. Just send a very good, reasonable offer. And the first one to accept, accepts. I think trade offers, I think comments like this in an active chat work, but you can still send the offers. And in a less active chat, the offers are going to have more potential. I've tried this and it's not worked. In one league, I ended up taking my guy, David Bell, way too high because I sent everyone for 10 picks back. Like literally the offer to trade up for a 3rd round pick. I wanted David Bell. I was willing to move back. It was Christian McCaffrey. And the other thing about being that active is then you overdraft someone, but there was no other option. And if you at least drop the trade in their trade box, you've done everything you can do. Yeah, you can't badger them. So I think that's solid. Ryan Harvey. Awesome profile pic, by the way. That's so good it looks like a stock photo. I've never seen it before. That's awesome. I feel less professional than you, Ryan. I feel bad. Just so you know. Just made a massive trade. 1QB traded Chase, Juju, Tyler Lockett, Schultz, For ETN, Higgins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aaron Jones, Al Lazard, and Penny. Well, there's a few players in here I can just cross out, but this is a big trade. How do we feel about the haul I got? So you traded the first for the second. Chase and Juju, Lockett, Schultz, all solid actually. But you got ETN, Higgins, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay, there's a lot to eat here. Chase is the prize, ultimately. So my first thought is I hate it because you trade away Chase. I love Juju as well. Higgins and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Higgins and Amon-Ra St. Brown, do they equal more than Chase? That's what I was coming to.
Or pretty close. And I think that you go ETN is a big plus over Juju. ETN's probably Juju and Lockett and Schultz until you get Aaron Jones, Lazard, and Penny for nothing. Basically, like that's what I'd say.
I don't want it.
You don't want Aaron Jones?
Aaron Jones is something fair. You get Aaron Jones for free.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, Ryan. This is a trade I break down poorly because I just see what I see, and I want the Chase side, and I love Juju, and I'm like, I don't think I'm going to keep it. But then you got this executed. Zach isn't wrong. You got the better side of it, and it's it's a trade that falls someone like me who just.
It's not like, I don't think it's like a runaway win. I mean, Aaron Jones is not somebody that I'm going to hold a parade because I traded for. But I do think it is that's not a bad trade, Ryan. I don't mind doing that, even giving up Chase.
Yeah, as some way, like it fooled me. I would keep the Chase side, 9 times out of 10. But Zach's right. You probably go to the better side of it. The reason is the only thing that would literally I have zero expectation for is that Chase isn't worth at least 2 of everything else in this entire trade. Like that's the only thing I am 100% confident on. If I'm wrong on that, I'm as shocked as I can be in Dynasty. And again, I'm a little more risk averse than I am points per game. Not compared to the average Dynasty player, but a sharp Dynasty player like Zach, let's say. And so I stick with Chase. But no, he's right. When you break it down like that, you got a really good side. You're going to have more points per game upside. It's probably one of the few times a Chase trade is a good idea. Good job. Haters make money. Hater maker money. I don't know. Even if they have all the physical tools, it takes tight end a few years to figure it out.
Yeah,
I'm not sure on that narrative. Because I'm sure every job in the NFL is difficult to acclimatize to. I don't know if they're developing or they're learning or they're building. I don't know why, but I do know it's very difficult to expect a lot early. Put it that way. It's highly unlikely a tight end rookie will explode or Chase and Jeff. Yes, I think that's a reasonable expectation, but we can expect him to do something, to Corey's point. And I really do think Ingram and Pitts, Eric Ebron's the other guy who actually had a solid rookie year. I just remembered it. Like that all sounds bad because of what happened after, but there's only 3 of them, and relative to the position, that's a lot. But it's not enough to say it's a bad thing. I was joking about that. To be clear.
Somebody later on mentions Jeremy Shockey too, but that was a while ago.
That was a while ago. Yes, I do remember him coming up in long ago research, but that was Green Bay so long ago.
No, the Giants.
I should use the running. Yeah, he asked an AI to make Homer Simpson a running back and send me him, but they were hilarious. But I have never. Well, until I get copyright striked, I will probably never change my avatar.
I don't know. I kind of miss the Nirvana. Never mind.
That is true for the Scott Fishbowl. I will do a different vote. It's normally my avatar with a sticker placed on it, but occasionally Zach will make me one. Haters make money. I doubt anybody's wife would give 2 shits if you made it. I know my wife.
It was a metaphor. It was. Never mind.
It's a metaphor. Kid Cook, commissioner question. Fortunately, we're probably not the people that ask, but we will try our best. Should teams drop bench players and move IR players onto your roster before the rookie draft, or when should that happen in the off season?
I mean, yeah. Like we have rules, we have bylaws and things that say you need to have an actual valid roster not have players on your IR who are no longer injured because it's the off season and there is no IR. But I guess it depends on your bylaws.
I'm a big fan of exploiting loopholes or little gaps in rules for the league, and I think that's perfectly fine as long as you're following the rules. So if there's not a rule against it, but if you're asking me what should be the ideal, yeah, make a rule that you can't hold player on IR in the off season. I actually think that's fair and an easy way of cleaning up rosters. I actually think the more we do to enrich the waiver wire is better for Dynasty. Idiots and gits like me trying to stuff players in secret places to hold more of them. The reason we're doing it is trying to diminish the chances for other teams, but it also makes the active play worse. So yeah, I would make a rule that you have to drop them the minute the championship game is done. You can't hold players in your IR. I think that's fine. But as a commissioner, what I would say is this is an open conversation with your league. If you're setting rules and boundaries and it's not already in the thing everyone signed up to, it should be in a conversation. I want to do something like this. Who agrees, who doesn't? And if you get a consent of something should be done, then you create options. I can do this or this, and then they vote. And if it's not already in the charter, it has to be a league agreement, I think, to add a new rule. So yeah, that's about the only input I can give for my money. Commissioner Impossible podcast, by the way, it's really good for commissioners. And it's really good for everyone, but specifically for commissioners. And Puff Pass Kick, how many draft leagues are you guys in? Dynasty leagues are you in? How often do you win championships? It's a fair question. I'm just curious. I'll keep tuning in and never judge either way.
5.
I actually think I'm exactly in 5. I'm getting bored. I'm looking to add some, but I'm in 5. Of the ones I'm in, I actually haven't won them. I haven't won the ones I'm in. I've been in them for about 3 years. I would point out the quality of playing those leagues is pretty good. But that's not an excuse. I just haven't won them at all.
So for me, over the last, let's say, 4 years in that, and it's been kind of a melange of leagues because I had a couple fold. I had one that I won 2 years in a row that folded. My home league, like 4 years ago, I did back-to-back. The last 2 years, I've been second in 12 Olympians. I finished second, like, just to J Mike, like 2, maybe 3 years in a row.
That's kind of the thing about winning. Like it's very much a weekly.
It's like I tend to either be in the top half of playoff teams or tanking. And if I'm tanking, I'm not in the top half of playoff teams. I am identifying a draft class and trading players to get into that draft class 2 years out. So anybody that I have that is worth a second round pick or better, I generally will trade them and attack a draft class. I'll get a second the next year and a first the year that I actually want to get into. So
if you're asking to assess my dynasty play, one of the things I keep track of or try to keep in mind is how often I'm getting to the playoffs when I'm intending to. Because a certain percentage of those teams that aren't winning are intentionally not winning. Like I've had 2 teams the last 2 years and that have intentionally not been winning. I've been trying to trade out. The ones I'm managing well, like that Dynasty League, the DLF Pods League, I've actually been trying to win. I'm not winning because I'm just getting beat. But I'm trying to, like I explained to you guys, trying to manage my value and points per game so I have a good, decent chance to make the playoffs every year and to win. That's ultimately my goal. So historically, I have about a 70% playoff rate, but a decent chunk of that 30% is made up of teams I'm intentionally not making.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm hitting the marks I like at an above average rate. But I've also, what I actually tend to do is quiz people who do this for money, like manage other people's teams. And pretty much they say expectation of making the playoffs in a redraft league should be pretty close to 100%, anywhere between 80% to 100%. If you're paying for someone to get you to playoffs, they should at least get you to the playoffs. But winning's really like a 60%. 67% for the really good players, percent proposition, just to put it in perspective to you. Like if you're expecting to win every year, like not even like the guys who would charge you to run your league would create that level of expectation. But yeah, the leagues I'm in, I haven't won any of them, is the honest truth. I would say that one of them, that one's been going about 4 years. It's a best ball dynasty league. Started off with 14 teams. And I drafted Andrew Luck, and it only has waivers really highly because I love Andrew Luck. And I lost a lot of talent that year to actually injuries. I've been rebuilding that pretty much since the rookie season. So that's part of why my loss percentage has decreased recently. But yeah, I've been sucking it up.
and the other thing I will say is, because of the way playoffs are and it's one and done, there is so much kind of hinging on variance. So I think it was 3 years ago now, I lost. So I finished second in 3 leagues on the last Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs touchdown pass against the Patriots in week 16. 3 leagues on one play.
That's rough.
Yeah. So they're like, if you get there, you're feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, the
Winning
leagues I'm in
better,
now,
though.
I dropped down to 5 leagues about 4 years ago now, and those are the ones I'm in. And since the losing, but the reason I did it is I just wanted to play with commissioners that I liked and trusted, and people that I know, and so I consider them pretty high bars. I haven't won since, but I'm enjoying it more. I'm also enjoying not the waiver wire runs not being decent. Every competitive year, as in I'm investing money to. I've never finished in the red. Best ball I played for a while, and I'm not really into it, but the DFS and stuff, like I proved I was making Christmas money every year, put it that way, without having a lot to invest. I'm pretty confident in the overall skill set on a yearly basis, and the testing bears that out. But in terms of the variance and luck while playing against these particular 5 leagues, I just been getting my butt kicked.
I will say the best dynasty player that I have ever been in a league with is J Mike. Yeah. And Jake Anderson is probably a real close second, but those 2 guys,
He's actually pretty good. Yeah,
those 2 guys navigate the trade market really well. They navigate the rookie drafts really like it's really a beautiful thing to watch them. I've got my strategy, and that's fine. I can skate my lane, but to watch them, it's amazing.
I played in one of the reasons I started making a change to who I was playing with was because I was interested in getting better. It's really the only thing I want to do. Playing with Jake, he quit the league the next year, but one of the edges I always had on the average league that I was playing in is being very good on the waiver wire. Jake kicked my ass every week. He would get the players I wanted for the exact right bids, and he would put the bids in earlier. And I was like, this isn't good. This is one of the edges I've continued to exploit against most people I play Dynasty with. And Jake literally would kick to the point, there's a certain point in the year where even I would fade on even being interested, and he was still actively beating me. And I was like, I just can't. Like you're talking about the way they manage all the elements of it. Oh. Pretty impressive. Like, all right, I need to get better at this. So, yeah. But yeah, before that, even in paid and money leagues, like I was seriously sharp on the waiver wire, and then you play against someone like, oh, there's another level, and I'm not at it. Kind of competitive nature. It kind of makes you want to up the game on who you're playing. Is there a landing spot for any Gibbs, Charbonnet, Quentin Johnson, or Addison where you would take them over JSN?
It would have to be a JSN landing spot, and he would have to land outside of the top 3 rounds.
I think Gibbs getting really high draft capital could swing. It could.
It doesn't.
But I don't weight landing spot that heavily. Draft capital, it could easily put a running back over a wide receiver. But I don't think I'd honestly rank it that way unless it was extreme. Like Zach was saying, JSN somehow falls to the 3rd and Gibbs goes top 10. Something's absolutely ridiculous.
But it's got to be something that isn't going to happen. I mean, like that's the thing. Like I really think, and you
Addison gets drafted over JSN, I might take it as the excuse. Like I am honestly really close on them.
No. Okay. He's better. Like No, JSN is outside of Bijan Robinson the best player in this draft. And yes, quarterbacks are going to be more valuable in superflex leagues. But to me, JSN is the best player outside of Bijan Robinson in this class.
I don't hate it. Richard Davis, best team I've ever made is my current team. Awesome.
Nice.
10-team Superflex start 10. Mahomes, Dak, Jacobs, ETN, Jefferson, Chase, Lamb, Pitts. It's a pretty solid roster, dude. As well as the 101, the 103, and the 105. Mid to early 24 first. Nice. 12-team half-point PPR. Ranked JSN, Gibbs, Johnston, and Addison. Johnston. Oh, Quentin Johnston. Sorry. Took me a second.
JSN, Gibbs, Addison, Johnston.
Yeah. JSN is in a tier of his own right now, but I keep flirting with Addison in it. But I would take Gibbs over Addison pretty easy based on the draft. It's a difference. Yeah. And Quentin Johnson, like, I have a hard time making my mind. Like, I got no fault. It's like Drake London last year. I just want to say, yeah, I like him, but he's not kind of one of the guys I'm targeting in this class. I think he is well liked enough that, and I don't find one of those particular pet hobby horses I like to ride with Johnson. It's like, hey, it's pretty good, you know. So he might be someone that, to my own detriment, I want to actively target and get on my rosters. It's happened before. Who was it the last time I learned this lesson?
That what?
I think it might have been AJ Brown. AJ Brown was someone that just didn't fall onto my rosters because I wasn't actively targeting him. And there were players either side of them that I liked that I was actively targeting. I think it might have been AJ Brown. It doesn't sound right.
Was that the J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and
No, that was a different lesson. That was trade up to the players that you like. Don't like the ones that you're okay with falling to.
Well, I thought that was the same class. It was
yeah, it was. It might have been. I hate to pull up a sheet and crash the whole thing, but no, there was some player who I learned that. And Quentin Johnston's kind of falling into that mold. Like, no notes, no complaints. I actually think he has more upside than Mims, for example, but easily as productive in his relative role. Mims is undervalued, and I love players that get undervalued because no one's giving them hype. Whereas Quentin Johnston's got hype, and he falls into this quasi zone of he should be taken there and should be liked. Honestly, it's Drake London last year is probably the best synonym I can come up with. I liked him. I just wasn't excited, but now that feels bad.
You're taking Rager and Arcega-Whiteside instead.
Oh, I was really excited about Rager. I had him up there with Jefferson and Lamb. Like,
well, no, because he was the year before. Rager was the AJ Brown year.
Jefferson, CD Lamb, and Rager were the same year though. That was 2020.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm trying to find 2019.
That was the AJ.
Yeah,
Brown,
the AJ Brown. Yep.
Mm-hmm. It was AJ Brown. DK Metcalf, I was just never going to hit on because one, Jake liked him, so I wanted to not like him, and two, didn't play enough. In the 1 year he played, his production wasn't good. And I know there are some players I just can't find with my process. Which again, I knew Jake was probably right. He's got a pretty good eye, but I like teasing Jake. But AJ Brown's someone that showed up despite similar flaws, and I liked him pretty well looking back. But anyway, for a longer conversation. Oh, sure, Peter, we'll say sucker, but not that word on air. I don't know why. It's just become a thing now. I actually never liked the word. There's a few English slang words that to me always feel, I don't know, it's like a sloppy, it's like one of those loose handshakes you get from people, the wet fish handshakes. It's like, oh, thank you for letting me weigh your hand. And a lot of English slang comes across to me that way. It doesn't have bite. It doesn't have edge. It doesn't have pizzazz. It sounds like a 7-year-old invented it trying to be edgy, and I just hate it. That word, and there was another one, buzzing. For a while, I don't know if it's still part of the English slang, but I remember it arriving as part of the English vernacular for something is good. That's buzzing. I was like, that's a bad word. That's not a fun. That doesn't do the job. It's like a wet fish handshake. You're just putting it there, and I'm meant to accept it as a hand. It's not. It's not a handshake. It's not a cool word. It doesn't mean what you say. And the wanker word, it doesn't have the punch it pretends to. It's like, yeah, that's cool. It doesn't have the hard K of the F word. It doesn't have the punch it's meant to.
Well,
I know. I know. It's just lyrically in my head, it doesn't.
That's because if you really want to be, have that oomph, you have to go back to the Germanic roots. You have to go.
I guess, man. Maybe there's an etymology I don't understand.
No, it is. So, like, think about it. You fall off a boat, and you're not yelling assistance. It's help. It's you stub your toe, and you're not.
Some words have the pun.
Yeah.
But some are just.
It is. It's like
bad words.
German really has that like guttural staccato. Like this is what we mean to say. God. And it's monosyllabic. We're just like we're here right to the root of things.
That's fair, but it's not all German. I mean, people swearing in French is a goddamn work of art. I've never heard it in Spanish as well, and English has taken words from everywhere, being the whole language that it is, in a good way. I like it. I'm a fan, but I don't know. Some words just don't do the job they're meant to do, and I hate them for it. What's up, y'all? Hey, Mayday. Thank you. Fantasy Condo. I traded Derek Carr, the 202, and Isaiah McKenzie, and received the 106 and Samaje Perine.
He shrugged.
10-team Superflex, half-point PPR. Derek Carr feels like the win there, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Although that could be JSN, and I'd rather have him over Carr.
That's fair.
Actually, I'd probably rather have the 106 than Carr, because I think the 106 is going to be either...
JSN, Gibbs.
Yeah, it's going to be JSN or Gibbs. So, yeah.
No, he's right. That. Yeah, he's right. Wow. Tyler Sperry, would you trade the 105, Pollard, and the 203?
In what? The answer is probably no anyway. I'd rather have the 105.
I think I prefer the 105.
If it's super flex, it's absolutely the 105. Like with a bullet hand.
I think even in one
back
QB,
handspring.
Yeah. PPR. Yeah,
it's close in the one QB.
I'm probably undervaluing Pollard. I tell you, I was thinking about this the other day because someone asked me on a podcast or something, and I was trying to put it in mind. It's that delayed breakout argument for running back I don't buy. Yeah. Like Zeke's gone, now he can finally. I'm like, no, but it's not exactly that because Pollard did amazing last year. He was popping off in everything you could and he's a good player. But I just lean on the Lamar Miller principle of we always think a player gets more is going to do better, and a running back specifically tends to be being used optimally. So just believe it. That late career running back break. I mean, Derrick Henry did it, but he wasn't actively being used. And not because there was a Zeke ahead of him, to be fair.
I mean, there kind of
DeMarco Murray.
DeMarco Murray, who was coming off a season where he was...
you're right. Yeah, I think Henry's the example, but I just don't know. It's a rare one. And again, I kind of go against the rare because they don't have I don't evaluate anyone. I just run towards what happens more often when everyone's screaming the unlikely is going to happen.
Pollard is such a weird one, too, because I think the evaluation on Pollard coming out as a running back was really tough because he didn't have much for carries. And so you're looking at him like...
That might be what's weighing on me.
Yeah.
You're right.
So, I mean, he's been good, but he's a 25-year-old running back.
But the truth is here, you're getting something good for expecting Pollard is good. And that's why I'll just lean there.
But again,
we're in solid pick.
If it is a one quarterback league, it's a much tougher decision for me, and I might actually take Pollard, just because now you're in the Quentin Johnston territory.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right, and that's where I'm trying to highlight to you. I probably still lean the pick, and I'm probably wrong. I probably just should go in on that, but I hate that breakout running backs thing.
I made that.
Mike, wow, $20 going to someone. Really appreciate it, Mike. Currently in a startup draft, Superflex 12 team, start 10. After I took Zay Flowers, solid pick. Really interesting pick this year. He's a BC grad, offered his pick where I take Elijah Moore. My question is, do you think I should hold Flowers or flip him for Elijah Moore plus? I think Zay Flowers is a better asset right now in Dynasty.
It depends on the plus, but yeah.
I like Elijah Moore a lot. I think he was a good college prospect, had a really solid rookie year. But if I'm going to ding Pollard for the unlikely thing, this has been weird. I do think most of it was Zach Wilson last year. We saw a bump up when he didn't have to struggle under Zach Wilson too. But he always had a top 24 expectation for me. So even if he comes back to being what I hoped he could be, like Zay Flowers has easily got that as well. And he's 3 years younger and he's got the hype. Like, I think you need pluses on Elijah Moore to get someone like Zay Flowers right now. Elijah Moore doesn't trade for the 107 straight up. He's a second-round pick value. Yeah, it's Zay Flowers. Even though I'm somewhat in the wind with my Zay Flowers evaluation right now, I still have Zay Flowers over him. The 105 would have him... the 105 would have him have 4 firsts within the first 6. But
that doesn't matter to you. You make your team better.
That means he's making a good trade. He's attempting to do some, like, I like playing block. Don't get me wrong. Ha ha ha. But it's mostly you have to cough up a little bit more. Maybe they have to add a Tyler Lockett.
But again,
in
like
this case, you're getting enough. Like,
if it is a super flex, keep the 105. If it is not, then
I think that's right.
Let him have fun. He can have all the picks in the first round.
Presumably, he's made good trades, and that's
only the first 4 matter in a super flex anyway. So,
no,
but
if I've already got Lamar and Hurts, nice. Is it that egregious to take JSN over a QB? It's not egregious, especially for JSN.
Yeah.
Especially at the 104, that's borderline right now because we don't know how many quarterbacks are going to go in the top 10. So I'd say actually no. But say there are 4 top 10 quarterbacks, then I would try to trade back a little bit. But honestly, it's no. I'm just taking JSN at the 104 to be honest with you. But I mean, a trade back to get JSN obviously would be ideal. But no, I'm taking JSN there. B-Dags, what are your thoughts on Michi? Hold or re-roll this in this year's draft? The first thing here is what's the trade? What have you got to offer? What will someone give you for him otherwise? If I get a mid-second plus, I'm out on Michi. I wasn't a huge fan of his college profile anyway, but I am really rooting for the player. And below a mid-second, like, I'd take that role, sure. His value can come up. He can have a good game and everyone go, oh, man, that's amazing. And suddenly you can get that mid-second plus. But I wasn't a huge fan of the college profile is ultimately the answer. So I'm not all in or anything. But if you can't get the mid-second plus, sure. Hold and reroll. Would you trade Cam Akers for a 24 first?
Yes.
Yes. Most likely. Don't project the 24 first, but yeah, that's fine. Any random 24 first would probably be fair. If not, we said yes, so I can ignore this, right? Move Akers before the draft. What value are you targeting? No, I think a 24 first would be great. Yeah. Howdy's heroes. Pete and Zach back at it. Love the content, guys. Keep at it. Appreciate all that you do. Thank you, Howdy's heroes.
I appreciate you.
The 33rd Network won. Thanks. No problem. Fantasy Condo. DJ Moore and Rookie 108 or CD Lamb?
Lamb.
Superflex.
I still think it's Lamb, but
it's still Lamb, but that makes
it close-ish. I mean, you're probably gonna hope that Will Levis is a viable quarterback at 108.
Like, the reason I say it's close because the other side could easily be happy with this deal. DJ Moore has more upside. I don't think he's going to hit it. I think he's going to be a top 24 wide receiver, but it's there. Why not? Let's be a fan.
Concerned about his volume.
And the 108 in a super flex could be Addison. It could be. It's definitely going to be a running back, if not one of those top wide receivers that I like a lot, which adds value to your roster at another position. I like that. But Lamb is top 12 Dynasty wide receiver, and he is young, so I just lean that side, but I think it's fair. Tyson Lucia. Hey, Tyson. Love the content, guys. Thanks for the advice on sophomore tight ends. No problem, man. What's your outlook for Deshaun next year? Deshaun Watson?
He's going to be better than he was last year. He has to be. He could throw left-handed and be better.
Yeah, I don't think he can. My outlook is I don't expect the best of what he was able to put up before, but I think top 12 expectations for him are very reasonable. We know he's got talent. We know he should. We think he should improve from last year at least, even on the Browns. The Browns can't screw this up that bad, right?
Sure.
But no, top 12 expectation is fine. I've been thinking of him as akin to Tua. Obviously, I'd rather roster Tua for a variety of reasons, but Deshaun's probably got an edge on more upside. Tua's got an edge on he's going to be decent for longer. Not that quarterback career arcs are something you can mitigate at these ages. But yeah, in that value range, I think it's fair. Look.
He's a player that you kind of, if you don't roster him, you kick the tires on and see if the owner that, the manager that rosters him is lower on Watson than they should be. Like that's kind of where I'm at, because I think he's either a player that somebody held on to long enough that they're like, no, I'm not parting with him unless I get a Godfather offer, right. Or
if they let you play him like.
Sorry, and he did well. You held on to him, and you disappointed last year. And this is where I get into the psychology of things, Andrew, because people tend to hang on to negatives because that's back to your lizard brain, where if you screwed up at that point, then you are dead. And so we hang on to negatives. We avoid negatives. And so if the owner in your league that has Deshaun Watson, have a conversation, throw out an offer, maybe lowball it a little bit, because Deshaun Watson was really bad last year. And if that is part of their psychology, you may get a deal for a quarterback that, like Peter just said, has top 12, pretty solid top 12 upside.
That's fair. Andrew Carlson says, or asks, need thoughts on 3 players. Jameson Williams, re-roll him as if he's a rookie. Top 7 rookie in this draft class, for example. Mike Williams, I'd trade him for any second-round pick. Otherwise, he's good for the points.
Yeah.
That's where, like a flex wide receiver. Awesome wide receiver 3 to throw in your flex. Awesome. Treylon Burks. I actually think he's kind of a buy low. If he's valued lower than London, I'm in. Like a back end first this year for Burks seems like a really solid offer if you want to bet on that upside. And I kind of do. I own all 3. I'm a contender without any of them starting, which is nice. That's a nice thing to have in the bag. But I think Mike Williams has on a weekly basis, I think he has top 10 wide receiver upside. He's never going to get there in value, ever. Right. Just to be clear, that's my dynasty expectation. Could he finish there in a season? I don't think so, actually. But I think he's the old Gabe Davis. Like, all the expectations on a weekly basis, I don't have seasonal expectations for him in that range. But those are all my thoughts. I gave them as I went. So, Zach, what you got?
No, I agree with you. I think that they're all 3 probably holds on your team. You've got Jameson Williams, who I had been buying in the offseason when his value was low, because, again, you're going to see him come out and be good, and either you can get something in a trade for him or you're able to start him. I really like Treylon Burks. We've had this conversation ad nauseum since last year during rookie season. And Mike Williams, again, does have that weekly upside. He is the quintessential flex play because he can win you weeks. And I think people are getting into this, and maybe this is what you're thinking, Andrew, but with the new offensive coordinator in LA with the Chargers, I think people are thinking that there's going to be a big volume explosion in the passing game. I don't believe there will be, because Justin Herbert threw 699 times last year. Like, there's not much room for more volume. There isn't. Like, I don't know. Like,
I think Mike Williams is a really good example that I don't pull out a lot of more NFL relevant than fantasy relevant.
Yep.
Coming into the league, there was strong, like he was not meant to walk. Like there was a serious risk that neck injury meant that he wouldn't be able to walk. And he not only came back to play that rookie year, but he got drafted into the NFL. He's played for so many years so far and been excellent. But this is another path to that. It's not all just Ted Ginn. He only does a certain role and he has a weekly Deshaun Jackson upside, but not a consistent rate. And it's not injuries on and off the field. It's just he is an incredible asset for them in the NFL. And on a weekly basis, he's great, but we have relatively little expectation that's going to mock up to regular upside on a weekly basis, like a top 24 wide receiver. Although he's got that weekly top 12 upside. Because is another example of a great NFL player that doesn't accrue the dynasty value, especially at this point in his career. The age is going to make it almost impossible. But you can also find value on him. Because of that means that if you need a wide receiver flea, someone you can fill in that way, or you're weak at wide receiver and good at running back and tight end, you can get that at your wide receiver 2 position and be really happy with it. And so, yeah, it's an example of how there aren't clear lines between what's fantasy good and what's fantasy good, what's fantasy bad. Mike Williams is a really interesting lesson or even litmus test for what is good and bad in dynasty and fantasy. He's an amazing player who's having an amazing NFL career, but when typically hunting other things. But if you get value on someone like Mike Williams, it's awesome because of those warts. He's still good. Anyway, sorry, I'm being on a diatribe there, but I guess I had a few more Mike Williams thoughts, so I thought I'd throw it out there. Gavin Grant, Judy and DJ Moore or Garrett Wilson? Garrett Wilson. I roll it up into one player if I get the chance, typically. Yep. Justin Johnson. Also, by the way, really professional. Like, is everyone getting their profile pics custom made at this point? Like, I'm feeling really bad about my avatar and screenshot game. Justin Johnson. Pre-draft. What is your take on Tank Bigsby? I got a video. Please watch it. Please watch it. I love my Tank. I actually really like Tank Bigsby. He's my running back 3 in this draft class, which I believe is. It's hot, and I don't think it's that hot. I think there's a strong tier of got some warts, very good player. The upside, the range of expectation is fairly wide, but positive. And I think Tank's in that. And because he's ranked below everyone, I just get to like him in that tier and like that he's undervalued in that tier. And it makes me higher than everyone else. I really like Tank Bigsby. I think he showed an elite ability on significant volume in a spread situation. Like he's 33% of the rushing offense instead of 50%, like Bijan Robinson. But that offense exists in the NFL a lot. And we've seen him hold that role and hold significant running back volume with a strong running back 2 and a rushing quarterback and be really good at it. And I think that's great. I think he's a good receiver. He's a good rusher. He's shown an ability to fit into that type of offense in the NFL. And I know that's not zone scheme or run block. I don't know about that crap. But in terms of his fit into many different offenses in the NFL, I think that works. And getting 30% instead of 50% doesn't mean you can't be a 50% rushing attempt guy. I really don't think that. I think once you take into a situation where he was playing, it makes sense why he has less overall volume than someone like Bijan Robinson, but that's too high. Then Aaron Jones even. And I think the NFL is going to like him. I think they're going to see that 3-down skill set. He's coming from a good conference, good team, and he performed very well. So I think they're going to spend some capital on him. I really like Tank. And he's also called Tank and Bigsby. And Bigsby is underrated, by the way. Obviously, being called Tank is cool. And if you're betting against someone whose mom said, boy, you were running like a tank, then I don't know what to tell you. You must just not like fun. Like, don't believe the woman. But also, Bigsby sounds like a character from like a P.J. Woodhouse novel. Like this, there's nothing bad about this name. And it's awesome. And I want to draft him. There you go.
Yeah, again, we're waiting on draft capital. If he gets day 2 capital, he's a very interesting running back. I have him in my tier 4 with like 7 other players who are all interesting. And he is as interesting to me as any of those other players. And with day 2 capital, probably more interesting than most of those players.
And to actually answer your question, where would I look to take him? It's late first round. It's the Charbonnet range. Zach Charbonnet and Tank Bigsby are still on the board. Tank's actually going in the second round, so you don't have to. But that's honestly before I actually have to make a rookie draft. That's where I think he's interesting. You flip a coin on, and me and Zach slightly disagree on this because I like Zach Charbonnet a lot, but I think you definitely have him ranked firmly over Tank. Would that be wrong?
I mean, for right now, yeah.
Not that you don't like Tank, you just
Charbonnet
I think
was
fine,
my RB3 pretty solidly.
It's a coin flip to me. Now, after the draft, I do think Tank's ADP is going to be in the second round. So, where you have to take him versus where you would take him is slightly different. But I don't want to give up on him or let him slip past me either. I will try and trade into a pick that I need to get him, etc., etc. But yeah, I think he should be held in that value range, and he's not right. Justin Johnson, Trevor Lawrence, or the 101 in a super flex, start 12, start 15.
It's still Lawrence for me, but it's real close.
Yeah, it's real close. I think in Superflex you default to quarterback, right? So in a vacuum, yeah, it's Trevor Lawrence. I can't tell you you're wrong for taking Bijan Robinson. No, I can't. It's even Steven, Puff Pass Kick. You two have once again made my Wednesday. Appreciate that, man. Very thorough answer on how many leagues and wins. Yeah, it didn't take very thorough answer to say none, but I appreciate you. Shout out to Outhouse. He's here in spirit somewhat. That's spooky B word. Yeah, I hope he's not actually, because honestly, he's got a great family and a big family. He spends a lot of time doing Dynasty content. His wife's sick, and I think I hope he's not. If you're there, Russ, it's fine, but I don't want him to feel like he has to be spending time here. He doesn't get enough time with him as it is. I'm sure she appreciates him, hopefully, being around. Andrew Carlson, Tony Pollard turns 26 in like 2 weeks.
He does, but that's whatever.
I mean, he can be good for 3 years in the top 12. I should probably not undervalue him. Like, if we get 2 years top 12 production out of him, I am badly mistaken for not trading for him.
And again, to go back to this, if it's a one quarterback league, I'm taking Pollard over the 105. If it is a super flex league, there's no question in my mind it's the 105 over Pollard. Like, that's just kind of where that delineation is.
Age matters to your point, Andrew, but like running backs have like a 1.5, 2.5, forget what Adam says, lower expectation in terms of overall career. We also underrate how many top 12 seasons they get relative to the wide receiver position. It happens over a longer period of time, but running backs tend to have pretty similar ultimate output throughout the length of a career. Second contract running backs are not a bigger risk as once thought. The tread on the tire thing doesn't seem to work out in practice. It is more about age. But at 26, he's got 3 years where he could play a full role, fully expect him to be a running back, and there's no expectation he's immediately going to break down. If he can get 1 year out of a rookie, we're pretty happy. So a 26-year-old where he's got 3 years left in him, even at the meagerest expectation. But again, I'm actually a little lower on Pollard because I don't like those later breakout running backs either. It's always worth considering the opposite because I'm trying my best to, Andrew, and so I'm just throwing it at you. The type of anxiety I get in my head over it too. But again, simple rules do make Dynasty more fun, so I don't hate it. Justin Johnson, can you give some strategy around trading back while on the clock? I wish Russ was here, especially when you have multiple picks around the same tier. For example, the 106 109.
I don't think those are the same tier, though. I don't think the 106 and the 109 are in the same tier. To me, the 106 is an entirely different animal than the 109 in this draft.
Yeah, I think the 9 to the 1, the 201.
Yeah,
that's actually pretty similar to in a 1 QB. But that's honestly the answer, Justin. You can have different ranks and different tiers. Don't let me say you should have these tiers, but develop a process where you have you have confidence in the tiers you develop, and that's how you try and trade it back. If you're trying to trade back in rookie drafts, I tend to be trying to trade up. Again, I made a whole video about I will play this trade back thing in startups specifically if my league mates open up the path to it. But there's always an option to go the other way. And in rookie drafts, I want to go take my risk. I think that's what rookie drafts are all about. I'm going to go get the highest upside I can get. And so I tend to trade up instead of down.
Yeah.
And so the advice I would give actually is one, understand the tiers. But if I'm trading back, I'm not trading back in that draft. I'm trying to trade out. I'm trying to get into 24, 25. That will be the only way. If I'm trying to trade back, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get picks in other draft classes, probably because I'm building and I'm trying to spread out my apples into different baskets and get a discount on first round picks in other years, and that all boring rebuild type strategy. So let me shut up and let Zach talk, because he's actually probably got much better.
No, I agree with you, Peter. I like the idea of trying to get out of the 109 or the 112 back into another draft class. I also like the idea of, Justin, if it were me, I would go to the guy who has the 105 or girl and say, I will give you the 109, I will give you the 112, and I will give you the 201 to get up to the 105 and be very happy with a draft that started out with the 106, 109, 112, and 201, coming away with Jahmyr Gibbs and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like that, those are things that I would rather combine those picks that are all in that range of guys that you're like, to go up into a range with players that you're really excited about.
Again, it can often feel bad to try it and it doesn't work, and then it feels like, oh, I'm not playing Dynasty right. But I honestly think you're trying to balance points per game and value. Always you're trying to maintain some level of both. In fact, constantly increasing value should be our main focus. To Adam Todd's point. But I think the basic Dynasty strategy isn't complicated. You're trying to combine more things with value into one thing of more value. That's basically, but the only addition I think I've made to my process from that just first article you read in Dynasty, like trying to trade the 6, 9, and the 12 into the 101 is an example of that. And trading up instead of trading back. Is that I only want to try and do that at certain points, which is why I'm heavily invested in trying to make those risks in rookie drafts, because rookie evaluation is still basically the Wild West. We really don't know as much about the future as we do even in the NFL. So if I find a place where I feel confident in having more certainty, Bijan Robinson, JSN, Addison, I'm going to go try and combine things to go get that one thing that I have more confidence in. That's why I play rookie draft set. I don't know if using the word things is making the point here very well. But if you're building, then literally nothing else matters but increasing your value. And that's why I try and trade out. Because the one thing I know about 24 picks is they won't devalue over the next year. And 25 picks, they won't devalue over the next. And that means I have a better expectation of increasing my value over time. But that's outside of purely breaking down my roster. Trading back isn't the move. I want to find places of confidence and trade into them. Yeah.
And you might be able to 109, 201, move up to the 107.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And then if you can, 107 and 112 and move up to the 105. If you can't, you still got 106, 107 and a 112 that you're happy with. Maybe you kick that into a 24 first or a 25 first, or maybe you make that pick and be happy with Tank Bigsby. I don't know.
And this is a part where there's so many options, like the 6, the 9, and the 201. Does that get you the 101? No,
but don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to fire off trades.
Trade offers,
because you're never going to know what is possible to get. Like, don't accept a trade that you're not happy with the value you're getting back, but also understand that you can send off trades, and if somebody declines it, that's fine. You're right where you were before. It doesn't matter.
And the reason I like it with another thing I like about rookie drafts is that it's not, the window isn't closed till the pick is made. And even then you can send trade offers, but ultimately if they've made the pick, they've accepted that any offer I can send them won't be enough for the player that they chose. That's the way I'm really trying to send my best offers until that point. And so I stopped trying to trade for the 101 when that pick is made. And I wait until there's a tier. And this year, there's a tier at quarterback where I don't have a strong edge. Zach really likes the upside of Richardson, and I fully understand that argument. But that's a tier where if I have a pick, sure, I might take the best. I will take the best player available. But I'm not trying to get in that tier because the one after that, JSN, I feel I have a lot of confidence in that. So I'm after Robinson's gone, I'm immediately trying to get the pick that I think is JSN. And then when that pick is gone, I'm immediately trying to get the pick that's Addison. After that, there's a Tank Bigsby pick I'm really interested in. And so that's why I said establish your tiers and the players that you want to identify as the places you have particular confidence. And yeah, that's the way I try and work. It doesn't always work. I'm not as active as I should be every time. I don't get the trades I want every time. But that's the way I'm trying to play. Glad to be. Thanks, Gavin. Andrew Carlson, great stream as always. Got here late, but thanks, guys. Well, thank you for being here, Andrew. Glad to be back. Been a while. Love the content, fellas. Thank you, Gavin.
Appreciate you guys all. Yeah.
C4T. I can't speak anymore. TZ3RO. I'm sure there's a way of saying that. Lamb and Acres or the 105 and the 110?
I think it's Lamb and Acres.
Plus one down row.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just Lamb. But Lamb for the 105 and the 110. I actually like Wando, Robinson, and Rondo. You're winning the value on volume, and I always lean to this more into the one thing as a rule, unless I'm building. And so yeah, I lean Lamb as well. But if you're pure building, throwing these flyers out and Wando and Rondo, I can understand. Alan Davis, new knife maker by that name. He was very good. I didn't hold Devontae Adams too long. Last year it was Adams, Shakir, and my 208 for Kadarius Toney. I remember that one, I think. And a first this year and a 24 second. He insisted on using keep trade. I hate that it's a whole screenshot evaluator. You know, this calculator says you need to add more. They're really useful tools, but it can get really frustrating very quick. Yeah, it's rough. I was 3-6 at the time of the trade. Nice. Professional profile picture tonight. That's you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's professional profile picture.
Judy or Elijah Moore on the 112. I think Judy wins that by himself.
Yeah. Peter, you're coming around on the Elijah Moore stuff, huh? Sorry.
Yeah. Assessing the values that you can get around. Like, I trade him for Aaron Jones, and for most teams, that's going to be a more solid points move.
Yeah.
Just in general. The value, like you said, it was a conversation I think we had in the stream about Elijah Moore has to score points, which makes him a points bet, which makes you think about it different.
This one, Lance, yes, I would. I would rather have McLaurin in the 111 than Algier Moore in the 204.
Yes. Ross St. Brown or Olave?
It's probably St. Brown. It's close.
Same position, same tier. I lean Ross St. Brown because I'm going to stand my draft capital dudes. Ross St. Brown, but it's pretty even. Don't do same position trades like this. Andrew Carlson, man, maybe I'm being biased on the last class, but I feel like sometimes a player can be flipped for a 24 first, and it's a better value. Think Pickens, Pierce, White, Dotson. Obviously, hindsight is 2020. Let me see if I can figure out what he's trying to say. Trying to be biased. Is he saying he prefers 24 first to Pickens, Pierce, and Dotson? Because I agree.
Yes.
I feel like we answered it that way. Yeah. So, like we would trade out rather than trade back, kind of a thing.
Right.
Isn't that what we said? 2020. Also, London, Wilson, Olave, Walker, all worth 2 firsts and 1 QB. Well, 2 firsts is a random generic value. Olave, for example, is going to cost you more than 2 firsts in generic value. So is Walker, according to ADP, but running back trades are difficult to get this time of year. London's right on that line, which is what makes them interesting. Again, I'm just talking literally what I find but in your leagues are going to be very different than this generic value. And what I would say, I'm starting to point this out a lot, and I'm expecting to get clapped for it. 2022 is the most disappointing rookie class of the last 3. That's not me being shady to the fact that there were 5 good prospects who did very well this year, but you would rather have the top of the class in 2020 and 21 than all of 2022 in fantasy in terms of upside.
Even 2019.
And the only reason I say that is because the 2022 class is getting hyped as this continuation of this amazing rookie trend we've seen. And it's 2022 is amazing. I got 2 players with 1,000-yard season. It's amazing. But are we? I always just want to bet the under when people are overvaluing something. And I think Olave and Wilson are great. They had amazing rookie seasons. But then when you say, oh, and also Pickens and Burks, and yeah, but they all did worse.
Yeah.
That's not as good as 21 or 20. Like we feel like we're at this peak of an increasing 3-year rookie explosion. We just entered the decline, and 2022 was a decline from the last 2 years. We actually saw less rushing yards on average because there were more players doing something instead of just a few doing great, if you want to look at the averages. It's not to devalue Wilson and Olave. I'm not like, sell them all now. But it's really interesting if people start... Pickens is now going to be great. I'm like, maybe trade for the 2020 and 2021 hits. If that's where we're going.
I don't think Andrew was saying pick. I don't think Andrew was. No,
I know Andrew's not. I just think it's really
we're straw manning. Like,
no, not even straw manning. It's just if that's what I think. JJ Zacharison's talking about rightly how Olave is a value because he's being treated less than Olave and Wilson. I think that's true. But Olave, Wilson, and London should all be valued less than Jefferson, Chase, Waddle, CeeDee Lamb, the hits from the few classes before that. And I think if the hype brings them up even to that group, like I'm more interested in that group. Give me CeeDee Lamb, like we've talked about a few different times. Give me Justin Jefferson, obviously. Give me Jamar Chase. Give me Waddle. And I think there's at least 2 of those names that get lost with the hype around how great was 2022. It was actually less than those guys who were still really young and really good and in the same value tier. So I just throwing out the asterisks, like give me Waddle, give me Lamb. You know,
well, but that's also why it is important to be ahead of the evaluation and understand what's hype and what's actually substance.
And that's all going to break down into your league. To your point, Andrew, like it's all going to break down into your league. Like what are the trades? Where are people valuing them? But I think it's interesting to look out for. Like if people think 22 is a continuation of 20 and 21, no, it's actually a drop. A great year, but a drop. Yeah. You know, it's worth having. I find it worth having in the back of my mind. Trey Cobb, 12-team Superflex. My QBs are Lamar and Watson. You show off. I have the 103. Should I take a QB? Yes. Again, don't take players based on what's on your roster. Trade for need, draft for value. But said the opposite way to make it sound cool. Thank you, Trey. Andrew Carlson, plenty of opportunities to get 24 firsts. We're already entering... We're getting close to where 25 firsts are going to be the ones that are easy to trade for. Yeah, I actually think. But yes, always easy to go a year out. My receivers are Metcalf, London, Keenan Allen, Hollywood Brown. I like some of those. Elijah Moore and other depth. Again, what you have shouldn't affect who you draft, especially in rookie drafts, but really even in the startup. So yeah, you should just take a quarterback. Ideally, you can trade for what you're actually looking for your team, or you take the quarterback and you hope you can trade that for what you want on your team. Right. If you see where I'm going. Again, if you have a lower valuation of those quarterbacks, you take the play you think is best in terms of scoring more points the soonest. But that's who you should draft, not based on what's on your roster, but who you think does more in value and points earlier. Yeah. Or you can also resort to upside, like some will do with the Richardson pick. There's just more upside there than anything else on the table. That's a fair way to play it. No, I agree. Pickens in a second and 2/3 were traded for AJ Brown. AJ Brown's a good name for what the thing I was just ranting about. In a league, 2019 wide receivers, actually. I guess that was my point. I think
2019, 2020, 2021. Good classes.
We approve of top 12 wide receivers.
Yeah, it's good.
And I think that's my point. Like these guys, because they're a little older, or AJ Brown had an injury year, and CeeDee Lamb broke out his 3rd year in the top 12, and so they're not Jefferson and Chase, and so they get pushed into this tier with Wilson and Olave. But I think those guys better, and those couple years don't matter to me. So if we're anyway, I think it's interesting.
Good young wide receivers, Pete.
Yes.
Look over there.
I will try my best to.
Do it.
Thanks, everyone.